My name is Emily, and at 43 years old, I find myself navigating life's twists and turns alone. 2 years ago, my husband John, who was my age, was taken by a sudden heart attack. His absence left a void that seemed insurmountable. We had hoped for children, but fate had different plans, leaving us in a silent ache of unfulfilled dreams. Guilt often washed over me, knowing John's deep longing for fatherhood. Yet in his wisdom, he reassured me, our happiness doesn't depend on children. It's in cherishing each other, just the two of us. We held on to those words tightly, crafting moments of joy amidst our shared sorrow. But life's capriciousness had another chapter in store for me. In a cruel twist, just as we found solace in each other's company, I found myself grappling with the stark loneliness of his absence. In this unforgiving reality, circumstances led me to reside alone under the same roof as my late husband's mother, a woman with whom I frequently found myself at odds. Our living arrangement became the result of John's parents' divorce, with his father now a presence in our shared dwelling, a two-family abode offering the only solace in an otherwise strained situation. Yet, as time passed, my mother-in-law's visits grew more frequent, perhaps driven by a longing for her departed son. I couldn't help but feel apprehensive. Her demeanor was often overbearing, punctuated by subtle jabs. "What exactly do you mean by that?" I would inquire, bracing for the inevitable sting of her words. "It's because he ended up with someone like you that John's no longer with us. You bear some responsibility," she would assert, her accusations as sharp as ever. Her reproaches were nothing new, but each time they cut deeper. "Are you seriously suggesting that I'm to blame?" I challenged, grappling with the weight of her accusations. "Perhaps he fell ill because you couldn't manage his diet properly. I suspect your cooking was too rich. His weight gain after marriage speaks volumes," my mother-in-law asserted, her words like barbs aimed directly at my heart. While it was true that John had put on weight since our wedding day, he always praised my cooking and savored each meal with genuine delight. His kindness knew no bounds. Even if the food had been supper, he'd have eaten it without complaint. "If only you had been more vigilant about his health, this tragedy could have been avoided," she continued, her tone heavy with accusation. These words, delivered by my mother-in-law in the somber days before John's funeral 2 years ago, struck me like a thunderbolt. Blaming me for John's illness and passing was a cruel twist of fate, one that left me reeling with pain. Though I knew the accusations were unfounded, the constant repetition took a toll on my psyche, making an already difficult time merely unbearable. For my mother-in-law, Joe must have been the center of her universe. The abrupt and untimely loss of her beloved son must have been excruciating. I could empathize with her struggle to contain her emotions. However, her attacks on me intensified with each passing day, a development I had sadly anticipated. "Because of you, my precious son is gone. Were you plotting to inherit his insurance money all along?" she accused, her words cutting like daggers. How many times must I deny such baseless accusations? "It's simply not true," I retorted, trying to maintain my composure. "You deliberately avoided having children just to claim his insurance money, didn't you? You're a devious woman," she spat venomously. As a couple, we longed for children and pursued every avenue, including medical assistance. But despite our efforts, we were unable to conceive. "The notion of profiting from insurance is ludicrous," I explained, my patience wearing thin. "Do you honestly believe I would fall for such a charade?" she scoffed, her disbelief palpable. "Each day without John is a torment for me. I can't pretend to be anything other than what I am," I replied, my voice tinged with sorrow. "Why do you utter such cruelty? It would have been better if you had never been part of our lives. Why did Joe have to endure this? Your words are unbearable. I can't bear the thought of never seeing my son again," she lamented, her anguish pouring out in waves. "What would John think if he heard you now? Pointing fingers won't bring him back. Joe was a remarkable and hardworking son. His loss is incomprehensible. It would have been easier if you were here. There's a line you don't cross. Some things are better left unsaid." Oh, I'm just talking to myself, voicing thoughts that have been haunting me. "It's nothing you need to concern yourself with. What's your ultimate point? Leave? And why should I leave? Your presence is suffocating. I won't demand it today, but please vacate this house at the earliest. Since John's passing, ownership rightfully belongs to me." "After John's passing, you've probably got your eye on the insurance money and the house, haven't you?" she accused, her tone heavy with suspicion. You're making wild assumptions. I wasn't even aware of any insurance payout until after he passed. I defended myself, feeling the weight of her distrust bearing down on me. Her discovery of the insurance payout seemed to fuel her suspicions, as if she believed I had orchestrated John's death to secure the house and money. No matter how hard I tried to reason with her, she remained steadfast in her mistrust. I felt like I was reaching my breaking point. Living under the same roof was becoming unbearable, each day more mentally draining than the last. The next day, the tension boiled over. You must be living the high life now. No need to worry about work with all that insurance money rolling in. Is that why you're here, to rub it in? She sneered, her words laced with bitterness. It's not fair to twist my words like that. I can't take these constant jabs. I understand you're grieving for John, but it's not right to lash out at me. I miss him just as much and feel the ache of his absence every day, I replied, trying to maintain my composure amidst the storm of accusations. Seriously, spare me the act. You've got it made with the house and money, don't you? Playing the devoted wife role, I see, she sneered, her tone dripping with sarcasm. I won't entertain such accusations. We face our own struggles, particularly with not having children, but I loved John deeply and envisioned a future filled with cherished moments together, I countered, trying to hold onto my dignity amidst her onslaught. It's astounding how you can speak so freely with everything falling into place for you. Must be nice having life handed to you on a silver platter, she retorted, her words cutting deep. That's a heartless thing to say. If I could trade the money and the house just to have John back, I'd do it without a second thought, I confess, my voice tinged with sorrow. Ah, so you're implying you don't need the insurance money then? She pressed, a hint of skepticism in her tone. Why would you even suggest such a thing? Just because I don't need it doesn't mean I'll refuse it. This money represents John's last gesture of love and concern for my future without him. I intend to honor that sentiment, I replied firmly, determined not to let her diminish the significance of John's final gift to me. You have no shame, she spat, her disdain evident in her tone. Feeling the strain of our cohabitation weighing heavily upon us both, I summoned the courage to broach a topic that had been weighing on my mind. Can we put an end to this arrangement? I proposed, hoping for a resolution to our ongoing conflict. What do you mean? She inquired, her tone wary. We argue every day, and it's taking a toll on both of us. I believe it's in our best interest to part ways, I explained, bracing myself for her response. That sounds like the most sensible option. Please make arrangements to vacate the premises soon, she replied, her words tinged with finality. It's you who should be leaving. This house belongs to me, I countered, feeling a surge of indignation. I can't believe you're trying to evict me. You're even more heartless than I thought. The house is too large for me alone. I'm contemplating selling it and settling elsewhere. Besides, properties in this area fetch a good price, I declared, determined to assert my own interests in the face of her hostility. Seems like every conversation with you circles back to money. How much is enough for you? If you're considering selling, why not just hand the house over to me? It'll be too much for you to manage alone, and the expenses, like property taxes, could become overwhelming. I could help you find a more suitable living situation, like an apartment. Are you suggesting I pay rent to stay in my own home? If selling is your plan, then consider handing it over to me. Renting an apartment would likely be more economical than maintaining this entire house. I can't commit to monthly rent payments, but I'm willing to contribute towards it. If that's the arrangement, so be it. I'm relieved to finally break free from living under the same roof with you. I always feared it would come to this. Just promise me you'll provide financial support. Agreed. Let's start the search for an apartment soon. So, we made the decision to go our separate ways. Despite our complicated relationship, my mother-in-law is the mother of my late husband, John. I feel a duty to support her, especially considering her financial struggles. With this in mind, I began the search for a suitable apartment for her. I feel like I've let you down. The diagnosis was a cerebral hemorrhage, but thankfully, it wasn't life-threatening. I spent 2 months in the hospital, including my recovery time. Throughout my stay, my mother-in-law never once came to visit. It was my parents and sister who took turns caring for me. Their unwavering support allowed me to regain almost normalcy in my daily life, with only minor lingering symptoms. And before I knew it, my 2-month hospital stay had passed, and the day of my discharge had arrived. I had initially planned to temporarily stay at my parents' place, but upon returning home to gather my belongings, I was greeted by a startling sight. What? Where's the house? What happened? I exclaimed, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. My mother-in-law appeared as though she had been expecting me. Congratulations on being discharged. I didn't expect you to look so well. It seems there are minimal lingering effects and I can resume my usual routine. I'm relieved to hear that you're doing better. But what happened to the house while I was in the hospital? I inquired, my mind reeling with questions. Well, you see, I sold it for around $150,000, she replied matter-of-factly. What do you mean you sold it without consulting me? I demanded, incredulous. I had a friend who was eager to live in this area. Her husband works nearby, and they needed a place urgently, so I went ahead and sold it, she explained casually. Selling it without even informing me is completely unacceptable, I protested, feeling a surge of anger. It's not that big of a deal. I received an offer right after you were hospitalized. I figured even if you recovered, you might struggle to live independently and could end up in a care facility, so I made the decision on my own. Don't be upset, she said, trying to justify her actions. I can't believe this. Thanks to me finding a buyer, we got $150,000 from selling the house, she added, as though it were a positive outcome. I can't believe it. While I was in the hospital, my mother-in-law sold the house without consulting me. Apparently, their acquaintance had always coveted the land surrounding my house, and my mother-in-law took it upon herself to arrange a private sale, I recounted, feeling a mix of shock and betrayal. Are you seriously considering selling someone's house without their consent and pocketing the proceeds? I questioned, appalled by her audacity. But the house was originally in John's name, wasn't it? She countered, attempting to justify her actions. While that may be true, I fail to see how that concerns you, I replied, growing increasingly frustrated. Anything that belonged to my son John is rightfully mine, she asserted, her tone unyielding. You seem to conveniently interpret things in your favor, but that's not how ownership works, I retorted, feeling exasperated. What exactly are you implying? She challenged. When John passed away, the title of the house transferred to my name, I explained, hoping to clarify the situation. And what's your point? She asked, seemingly unfazed. Selling a house without the owner's consent is bordering on criminal behavior, I stated firmly, unable to hide my disbelief. Please refrain from calling me a criminal, she snapped defensively. Who would have thought you'd consider life as usual after hearing about the cerebral hemorrhage? That doesn't give you the right to sell it, I argued, struggling to contain my frustration. Why the hostile expression? Do you honestly believe you'd win in court? How about we split it 50-50? That way, we each get $75,000, she suggested nonchalantly. It's not about the money, I snapped, feeling my anger rising. Then why are you so upset? While I was hospitalized, she single-handedly sold her house and used the proceeds to purchase a condo for herself. Strangely enough, there was a condo neighboring our old house for sale at around $75,000, and she's currently residing there. To top it off, she relocated my belongings to her new place. It seems that during those 2 months of my hospitalization, she doubted the severity of my condition and took it upon herself to make significant decisions. It was time to confront the self-centered woman with the truth. The house is no longer in my name, I revealed, my voice tinged with resignation. What do you mean? I demanded, struggling to comprehend her actions. I started the process of selling the house while I was in the hospital, she confessed. And what of it? I pressed, my frustration mounting. Due to its prime location, the sale was swiftly arranged. I was meant to handle the paperwork post-discharge, but it's already been finalized, so there's no turning back, she explained matter-of-factly. You must cancel it immediately, I insisted, feeling the surge of urgency. It's my property, so I see no reason to cancel, she countered, her tone firm. You need to explain the situation to your acquaintance and return the $150,000. I urged, hoping she would see reason. What are you suggesting? I've already purchased a condo, she revealed, her response leaving me speechless. So you're only willing to return half of it? I asked, feeling a mix of frustration and disbelief. Then you'll need to sell the apartment you're currently residing in to repay the remaining sum, won't you? I pressed, determined to find a solution. My clients are also considering demolishing the house, so it's convenient for them. I need to proceed with the necessary procedures, so please arrange for the refund promptly, she insisted, her tone resolute. Wait a minute. We're not finished discussing this, I interjected, feeling a sense of urgency. I'm considering returning to my parents' home, so I'd appreciate it if you could arrange to have my belongings sent there, I requested, hoping for some semblance of cooperation. Wait, I have a feeling today will be the last time we see each other. Please take care, she said, her words tinged with finality, leaving me with a sense of resignation. After that incident, I severed all ties with her. Later, I heard she apologized to the acquaintance she had sold the house to without my consent and reimbursed them. The total expenses, including demolition and inconvenience fees, amounted to roughly $170,000. Additionally, despite selling her apartment, its value had decreased since her purchase, leaving her with substantial debt. On the other hand, thanks to her actions, I saved on demolition costs and made a significant profit from selling my house. A new home was constructed on the land where John and I had once lived. Seeing the new house brought back memories of the happy times we shared, evoking both nostalgia and sadness. Despite my reservations, I decided to visit the site. To my surprise, someone I never wished to see again appeared. "Well, it's been some time, hasn't it?" she greeted me. "Why are you here, mother-in-law?" I asked, taken aback by her unexpected presence. "I'm heading to work," she replied casually. "You're going to work now?" I questioned, surprised by her response. "Yes," she affirmed. "So you've started working?" I inquired, puzzled by this newfound revelation. "I'm drowning in debt because of you," I accused. "How can you say that? I'm not responsible for your financial troubles," she retorted defensively. "What happened to the assistance you promised with my apartment?" I pressed. "Our relationship has ended, so any previous agreements are null and void," she replied coldly. "John would be devastated by all of this. I would tell him the same," I stated, my voice tinged with sadness. "What do you mean?" she inquired, her tone softening slightly. "John always prioritized me and treated me with kindness. He was considerate, wasn't he?" I reminisced. "What's your point?" she asked, sensing where the conversation was heading. "You used to blame me every day, saying that John's death was my fault," I reminded her. "And it's the truth. How do you think John would feel if he knew?" She fired back. "Mother-in-law, if it weren't for John, you would be in a much worse situation," I pointed out. "Are you still going to insist on that? Will it change anything?" she challenged, her tone bitter with resentment. "I have no interest in being lectured by you. With all the money you now have, you should take on some of the debt burden. After all, we're still family, aren't we?" she retorted, her tone tinged with bitterness. "I never truly cared for you, but I intended to support you because you're John's beloved mother," I confessed. "Well, that's the least you can do," she replied, her voice laced with expectation. "However, I can't overlook some of the hurtful things you've said and done since my stroke. I can't simply forget the pain caused by your words," I admitted, feeling the weight of unresolved grievances. "That was months ago. It's time to let go of grudges," she insisted, brushing off my concerns. "It's not easy for the person who was wounded by those words to simply move on," I countered, my frustration mounting. "You're quite stubborn, aren't you? Call it what you want," she dismissed, showing no remorse. "I'm no longer involved. By the way, shouldn't you be at work by now?" I redirected the conversation, eager to end the confrontation. "Ah, look at the time. Take care on your way," she responded, avoiding the topic. "If it weren't for you, I'd be enjoying a peaceful retirement," I remarked bitterly. "It sounds like you regret your decisions. Instead of blaming others, perhaps it's time to reflect on your own actions," she suggested, deflecting any responsibility. After expressing my thoughts to her, I walked away from the confrontation. I recounted. "It's only been 2 years since John passed away. Thanks to the financial security he left behind, I've been able to build a stable life. His legacy means everything to me, and I'm determined to honor it wisely. I've invested in an apartment close to my parents' home where I now reside alone. Though I long for John's presence, I take solace in the belief that he watches over me from above. My aim is to lead a long, fulfilling life, cherishing the memories we shared and living for both of us. My ultimate dream is to one day reunite with him in heaven, where we can relive our cherished moments together."
I've been saving up a lot lately. My name's Cassie, and I can't help but smirk at my phone with a sneaky laugh. I'm 29 now, married for 2 years, and working hard as a housewife. Some of my coworkers think my smirk is weird. But I can't stop because I'm so close to saving enough money to build my dream home. The balance in my bank account is almost there. My husband, Max, and I don't have kids yet, but we've always planned to have some once we have our own home. I wanted to stay single a bit longer, but at 27, I fell in love with Max, who's a bit older than me. We work at the same company but in different departments, which can be awkward, but I've stuck with it because finding a new job would mean less money. Now, after a lot of hard work, I'm almost ready to buy our dream home. It's been quite a journey. Life with my husband is smooth sailing, and our savings are growing steadily. We're content with our ordinary jobs and our plan to buy a simple home. Finding joy in this regular life is what makes me happiest. But there's one big hiccup: my relationship with my in-laws. It's the toughest part of being married. When I come home from work to our small rented apartment, seeing my in-laws' shoes at the door instantly drains me. They seem to be here again today. I let out a heavy sigh. I'm home. Oh, you're back. The one who responds isn't my husband, Max, but my mother-in-law, comfortably seated on our cramped sofa. Good evening. Do you always come home this late? Our in-laws live just 3 train stops away, which is too close for comfort. That's why my mother-in-law often drops by without considering the inconvenience. You're home late again. What about Max's dinner? This happens too often. No sympathy for my long work hours, just complaints from my mother-in-law. I'm sorry, work was hectic. I'll cook something now. Max has been home for a while. Cassie, aren't you a bit inefficient? Even though Max and I work at the same company, our jobs are very different. Max rarely has overtime in his department, but he earns less. My department, however, is crucial to the company, often requiring me to work late. That's why I earn the highest salary in the company. I never bring this up myself, and I wish Max would, but maybe his pride gets in the way. He never speaks up. Right now, he's just quietly drinking his tea. Even though we both work, I feel like Max could pitch in a bit with the housework, but he steadfastly avoids it. Whether it's shopping, laundry, cleaning, preparing the bath, or cooking, when he gets home from work, he's either glued to the TV or absorbed in his phone. Oblivious to all this, my mother-in-law, as usual, came over to criticize me today. It's okay. I already had dinner with Max. Oh, you've eaten? We had some amazing sushi. I decided to treat Max to something nice for a change. I see. I was taken aback when I heard the name of the sushi restaurant. Isn't that an upscale place? Though surprised, since my mother-in-law footed the bill, I decided to let it slide and started heading to the kitchen to make my own dinner. But my mother-in-law stopped me. Cassie, I hate to ask, but could you do me a favor? I'm a bit short on cash this month. Could you lend me some? Just as I suspected, my mother-in-law often asks for money like this. I wanted to say, hold on a second. That doesn't seem right. You went to a fancy sushi restaurant, didn't you? And last month, you said you were struggling and begged for money. I reluctantly gave you $300, even though we're also tight on cash. And the month before that, and the one before that. Aren't you being a bit careless? But I held back and managed a strained smile. I'm sorry, we're all having a tough time this month. Can't you do anything for your struggling parents? You're the cold one, not me. Who's really cold here? Your son, who neglects his duties at home, leaves his wife alone, and goes out to eat sushi. Seems pretty cold to me. Finally, my husband Max chimed in. Cassie's mom is in a tough spot. Can't you lend her a hand? Oh, so we're really struggling this month, huh? Well, Mom, I'll help you out. Max sighed and pulled $500 from his wallet, handing it to his mother. Max is such a kind and wonderful son, unlike Cassie. I was stunned as my mother-in-law shot me a glare and headed for the door. I thought she was leaving, but then she turned back and glared at me again. Max, if you ever want to divorce your money-hungry wife, you're always welcome to come back home. I'll keep that in mind. With a slam, my mother-in-law left. What was that all about? I turned to Max, who was already lounging on the sofa with his phone. I confronted him. Why did you give her $500? If we have that much extra cash, why not put it towards our household expenses? I had my reasons for asking. While Max pays the rent for this apartment, that's the extent of his contributions. I cover all the bills like utilities, phone, groceries, and other expenses because Max refuses to chip in. What do you mean? I pay the rent, don't I? You expect more than just that. You're so greedy. That's Max's usual way of avoiding financial responsibility. I'm taking care of everything else, including the phone bill you're holding. It's understandable you earn more, but I only make a bit more than your salary. We're barely making ends meet with our expenses and savings. Oh, you have enough to save? Then you should be fine. Suddenly, he reached out his hand when I mentioned savings. What's this for? I gave my mom $500, and now I'm broke. Can you lend me some cash? What? Seriously. This is unbelievable. Despite keeping almost all of his salary except for rent, Max always claims he's short on money every month. He used to justify it by saying, "A man needs to socialize and entertain," and I reluctantly went along. But not today. Why should I foot the bill for you and your mom's sushi? Why am I responsible for that? It's a way to honor parents. What about me? Neither Max nor my mother-in-law ever show appreciation. It feels like I'm just a paycheck to them. And what was that about considering divorce? Exactly what it sounds like. If you keep being so tight-fisted, I might have to consider it. With that, Max locked himself in the bedroom. He even went as far as locking the bedroom door. In our tiny apartment, there aren't many places to go. With the bedroom inaccessible, my only option was to sleep on the sofa. These days, amid all the stress, the only solace I find is in checking my bank account balance. After enduring yet another round of sarcasm and financial demands from my mother-in-law, I'd open my phone before starting my overtime shift at work. Logging into my savings account, which I've had since I was single, I thought everything was on track for our dream home. That is, until I saw something that made me freeze. "What's going on?" I exclaimed, abruptly apologizing to my boss before rushing home. "Max, are you here?" "Oh, what's going on? You're home early today." Max looked surprised. Before him lay an assortment of what looked like expensive sushi, and he wasn't alone. "Welcome home, Cassie. We're just visiting." Both in-laws were present, not just my mother-in-law, but my father-in-law too. I couldn't help but wonder why they were here. "What's happening?" "We're having sushi." "Want some, Cassie?" "Sushi? Where did this come from?" "Oh, we had some extra cash," they replied. Pressing for more details, both Max and my in-laws seemed taken aback. I grabbed Max's collar, as if to keep him from escaping, and he reluctantly handed me something. It was the bank book for the account I had just checked online. Flipping it open, I was left speechless when I saw the transaction history. "What's going on? How did you withdraw this?" I demanded, my anger rising. "Well, I just guessed the PIN, and it worked. Lucky me, right?" Max replied casually, showing no remorse for taking out a large sum of money without my consent. I was furious and on the verge of exploding at Max for his nonchalant attitude. How dare you take my money without asking? The funds I had diligently saved since my single days had been withdrawn without my knowledge. "Come on, we're married, aren't we? What's mine is yours. Don't be so uptight. This is the savings I've worked hard for since before we got married. Give it back. Relax, Cassie. What's yours is mine, naturally," Max said dismissively. Living off Max's support while secretly saving such a large amount of money. "You're so greedy," Max accused, his tone accusatory. "Yeah, exactly. You should appreciate me more. Who do you think you're depending on? It's unbelievable. I feel like I'm alone in this. Don't joke around. Taking my money like this is no different from theft. Give it back. Who's joking?" Max snapped, clearly startled by the accusation. Annoyed, he continued, "Don't forget, I'm the one paying the rent here. And I have plenty of social obligations to fulfill. Plus, I help my parents." Right. Max is such a wonderful son. You leave the rent to me and secretly save all this money. It's easy for you. You only cover the rent. You hardly ever entertain, yet you ask me for money while supporting your parents. Stop it. You married into this. It's only right for you to respect me and my parents. What's more, be grateful I haven't divorced you for being so useless, Max yelled, grabbing my hand and pushing me out the door. Hey, no sushi for you. Go cool off outside. I never expected to be kicked out. After standing there in shock for a while, I ended up spending the night in a business hotel. The next day, when I returned home, only Max was there. I was relieved the in-laws were gone. But then Max handed me a piece of paper. It was a mutual agreement statement, stating that if I didn't obey him, we would divorce. What's this? Listen, if you keep complaining, we're getting divorced. If you don't want that, just obey me silently. I'll take charge of the savings from now on, Max declared, flaunting the bank book. Then he got ready to leave. Where are you going? Out for a drink. What? Do you have a problem? Want a divorce? He taunted with a smirk and left. Such a foolish man. Did he really think threatening divorce would make me comply? My love for Max had completely vanished. Besides, did he seriously think there was still money left in the account he emptied? I had already withdrawn it all and moved it to another account. I felt uneasy keeping a large sum in one place, so I had multiple accounts. The bank book Max took was just one of them. I signed the paper without hesitation. Max's attempt at a threat didn't faze me. It was exactly what I desired. Quickly, I packed my belongings and left the house. I spent another night at a business hotel, and the following day, I took a day off work to file for divorce as soon as the city office opened. Then, I headed straight to a real estate agency. The previous night, while browsing on my phone at the hotel, I stumbled upon a property that caught my attention. A newly built detached family home near the station, perfect for commuting. It was almost love at first sight. The exterior and interior matched what I had envisioned. After viewing it, I made the decision to purchase the house on the spot. From then on, everything happened in a whirlwind. Staying in a business hotel until the move became too costly, so I explained my situation and stayed with a friend while getting ready for the new house. I had to start from scratch with furniture and other arrangements. Amid the whirlwind of activity, I completely forgot about my ex-husband and former in-laws. Hey, Cassie! Max's voice startled me one day when he showed up at my workplace. Oh, right, we work at the same company. As Max loudly called my name, drawing everyone's attention, he approached me without hesitation. Why haven't you been returning my calls? Oh, I didn't think they were important, I replied, remembering Max's persistent calls. I was preoccupied and didn't want the hassle, so I ignored them. You withdrew money from the account on your own, didn't you? Stop playing around. And why haven't you come back home? Do you really want to get divorced? It's fine, I replied nonchalantly. We're already divorced, and that money in the account is mine, so I can do as I please with it, I stated firmly. Max still seemed to view the word divorce as a threat. My casual response left him looking bewildered. What a silly expression. It's almost comical. What divorce? You mean you graciously offered it to me, and I graciously accepted, I remarked. What? I don't accept this, Max protested. Whether you accept it or not, the divorce is final. Oh, and I've already informed the company and completed all the necessary procedures. You might have some paperwork to handle, so make sure to report it to your boss, okay? With that, I redirected my attention to my computer. I'm busy. Where are you living now? You left your belongings at the house, Max inquired. I took what I needed. I'm comfortably settled in with new things I bought. Don't worry about me. And as for your whereabouts, that's none of your concern. This is a matter of privacy, so please refrain from prying any further, I replied firmly. With that, Max fell silent. Eventually, feeling the weight of the stares from my colleagues and boss, Max left the department without saying another word. Cassie's been through a lot. My colleagues sympathized. The comfort of my new home was unparalleled. The scent of a freshly built house was unforgettable. It was spacious and cozy. However, having just moved in, there were still many things I needed. Today, I was anticipating the delivery of some appliances I had ordered online. Then the intercom rang. Ah, it must be here, I thought as I went to open the door. I immediately regretted it. I cursed myself for not checking the intercom. Standing before me was Mother. Technically, my former mother-in-law, but the words slipped out in my surprise. There she stood, accompanied by my former father-in-law. And further back, Max was lingering. "Long time no see, Cassie. I'm coming in," Mother announced. "Wait, hold on," I protested, taken aback. My former mother-in-law barged into the house and began inspecting it as if assessing its value. "Oh, this property is quite nice. And this furniture is lovely. Move it to my room, will you? Oh, there's a basement too." "Excellent. Then this will be our room," she declared. Excuse me, but what's with these curtains? Dreadful taste. I'll choose new ones for you, so hand over the money," she continued. "The garden is quite spacious. Perhaps I'll start a vegetable garden." What were these people going on about? Confused, I turned to Max. "Max, what is?" "Be grateful, Cassie," Max interjected. I was about to confront them when my former mother-in-law cut in with irritation. I looked at her smug expression. "It's not much of a house, but as a gift for the parents, it's decent. If it's a two-family home, we'll move in. Of course, as the wife, you'll do the housework. We'll be generous and only ask for $1,000 a month for our allowance." What? What on earth is she saying? Are they from another planet? I couldn't comprehend and just tilted my head. "As the wife. I'm single now, you know," I added, surprising both my former mother-in-law and myself. "Max, you didn't tell them?" I questioned. "I don't accept it," Max shouted. But it didn't matter whether he accepted it or not. The divorce was final. We were complete strangers now. Upon hearing my declaration, my former mother-in-law's face paled. "What do you mean you're abandoning us?" "Your parents. My parents live in the countryside. I was planning to invite them over soon," she protested. "Don't joke around. This house is ours," she insisted. "No, it's mine," I retorted. What was she thinking? This house was purchased with my savings in my name. "Then where are we supposed to live?" she demanded. "I don't know. That's not my problem," I replied, feeling the weight of their expectations. Apparently, they had already sold their house, and the contract was finalized. They planned to live a comfortable life in this house with the money from the sale and whatever they could extort from me. It was a frightening plan. "I don't accept this," my former mother-in-law continued to protest. "But it doesn't matter. We're strangers now, and this house is mine. I won't accept it, absolutely not," I asserted firmly. In her anger, my former mother-in-law ripped the curtains. "Hey, what are you doing? These things I don't need, such bad taste. This is my house. I'll dim as I please," I snapped back. "That's right. What's yours is mine. Everything you own is mine," she insisted. "Listen, I don't accept this divorce, and both my parents and I are going to live here," Max shouted out. "Oh no, this is getting out of hand," I thought, just as I heard sirens. I had secretly called the police when Max and my former mother-in-law barged into the house. Finally, the police arrived. "What are you doing?" "We haven't done anything wrong," they protested. "That's right. If anyone should be taken, it's this woman," my former mother-in-law added. After a scene, they weren't arrested but were escorted away by the police. It had been a tumultuous day. After being released, Max continued to come by, insisting on reconciliation and getting picked up by the police each time. He even followed me to work. So after consulting with my boss, George, he received the stern warning. Misusing his wife's savings and assaulting her new home became the talk of the office, leading to an uncomfortable working environment for Max. His resignation seemed to affect him mentally, and he struggled to find new employment. My former in-laws, having sold their house, moved into the cheap apartment where Max and I had lived. It was an old, poorly maintained place, so it wouldn't have fetched much money. With the money from the sale, it seems like the three of them will be able to live modestly. Finally free from all the drama, I'm relishing the comfort of my own home. Although I offered to have my parents from the countryside move in with me, they're not quite ready to make the move yet. So, for the time being, I'm enjoying the solitude of living alone. Perhaps I'll consider remarrying if the right person comes along. But for now, I'm content. One of the first things on my agenda is to get a dog, something I couldn't do while living in the apartment. I also have plans to try my hand at gardening and to host home parties with friends. As I gaze out the window at the blue sky, I think about all the things I couldn't do before and how I want to embrace and enjoy life from now on.
My name is Scarlett. I didn't think I'd tell my story, but here I am with a wild tale about my mother-in-law. I'll change names to protect my daughter and me. My story doesn't start with a crazy mother-in-law. I married my high school sweetheart, Daniel, when we were young. Daniel worked at his dad's company, so we were settled early. His mom, Jenny, really liked me, and with his brother, Devin, we were a happy family. Sadly, Daniel's dad died when we were in school. I had great years with Daniel and his family. But then, tragedy struck. One day, Jenny called me at work crying and said, "Scarlett, I have terrible news. Daniel was in a car crash. He didn't make it." I was devastated. I couldn't believe it. My whole world fell apart. I was 5 months pregnant with our baby, Lily. It was a really tough time for me and Daniel's family. Jenny, his mom, struggled a lot with the sadness. She became fixated on me and the baby. She thought Lily was Daniel coming back. She kept saying Lily was her baby and tried to control everything about my pregnancy. Dealing with Jenny was really hard. She threatened me, saying I couldn't move on or leave with my baby. Lily is always going to be with me and Devin. I have already set up a nursery in my house. She will come live with me when she is born. Devin will be your dad. He is Daniel's brother, after all. Jenny, I know you're having a hard time dealing with Daniel's death. Trust me, I'm just as bad, but you can't control me like this. This is my child and not yours. How dare you say this to me? Lily is my child. I will do everything in my power to keep her with me. Don't you dare think you can take her away. As the days passed, Jenny became extremely unhinged. We tried having multiple family discussions about her behavior. We said, "You need to stop being so obsessed with Lily. This is very unhealthy. Mom, we are worried about you. You're acting very strangely. I think you should consider therapy. The only one you should worry about is Scarlett. I know this girl. She'll run away with a new man once the child is born. She'll take away Lily and raise her with someone else. Devin, you can't let her do this. She is your daughter too." Mom, you're not making any sense. Daniel is the father of Lily. A new man will not replace him. I'm her uncle, and that's it. I will be there for her, and so will you. But ultimately, she is Scarlett's daughter. Jenny never listened to us. From hosting a baby shower for herself to demanding presents in the delivery room, Jenny did a lot of things. Just thinking about everything makes me have a panic attack. Devin did his best to control his mother. However, she never improved. The first serious trouble she made was just after I gave birth. She came to my room and asked to hold the baby. When I handed her my daughter, she ran for the door. Luckily, Devin was outside and stopped her with some nurses. From that moment, I knew Jenny couldn't be around my daughter. So I filed the case against her and let the cops deal with her. I was at first hesitant to get a restraining order. I wanted Lily to know her grandma, so I put some boundaries and hoped for the best. Jenny crossed all of them. She tried to take my daughter away several times. She also tried to convince and demand Devin and his girlfriend to adopt Lily. They refused because they are actually the same people. Jenny also didn't like the fact that I was seeing someone when Lily was 2. The last straw came when she tried to take her away from daycare without my permission. We found that she had planned to move to a different state. I immediately confronted her in front of Devin. "What is wrong with you, Jenny? How many times do I have to tell you that you can't see my child without my permission? Even the courts are with me on this. Still, you keep trying to take her away. Lily is my child, and she deserves to be with me. I'll keep her with me until Devin and his girlfriend get married. Then we will be a happy family. You can go have a new child with your boyfriend, Mom. You can't say or do things like this. We have already told you that Lily belongs to Scarlett alone. If she marries again, Lily will have a father figure. You don't have to worry about her." No. This is Daniel's daughter. I won't let anyone else raise her. She is mine and mine only. Scarlett is nothing but a woman. I will take my Lily away from this witch." By that point, I was completely done with Jenny. She never showed any improvement and instead got worse with time. Now I was actually getting worried for Lily's safety, so I decided to file a restraining order against Jenny. I knew that the restraining order would make her go mad. So before she could do any more damage, I shifted to a different country. I took a transfer and left without telling anyone the address. Only Devin knew my address because he was dependable. Jenny's behavior did have a lasting impression on me. I was always paranoid that she would take my child. The first year I moved was hell. Ultimately, I got therapy and decided to get better for my daughter. I was also developing a good connection with Carlos, who was a local resident. He was the reason I moved to the county. Carlos loved my daughter a lot, and they quickly formed a great bond. So I was sure that the relationship would work out. Jenny did find out about Carlos and tried to call me a cheating witch. "I'm sure you have been cheating. I will never let you live in peace. I'll bring Lily back to me. Just wait." "Jenny, I have a restraining order against you. I don't want to do this, but you have left me no choice. If you really love Lily, you should get therapy and get better for her." "Don't tell me what to do, Scarlett. I don't need therapy. I only want my baby Lily back. I only want my baby Lily back. One day, I will take her away from you. Then all you will do is cry." That one phone call was enough to send me into a spiral again. Carlos and my therapist had a tough time soothing my fears. My paranoia skyrocketed again. My world got dark. Somehow, I managed to deal with the situation and kept all these conversations as evidence. Thankfully, with her horrible behavior, I was able to get restraining orders renewed every time they expired. My solace was in the fact that Jenny never knew my new address. For the next few years, things went pretty well for me. I was slowly starting to cope with my mental health problems and tackled Jenny at the same time. I can't begin to tell you just how many phone numbers I had changed. When Lily was 6, I married Carlos and began my life with him. Devin and his girlfriend turned fiancé were invited, but Jenny was strictly not allowed. When Devin went home from my wedding, he did call me about Jenny. "Scarlett, Mom found out about your wedding. I think one of your friends posted a picture. She saw it. She's not happy about this. What do I do?" "Devin, I'm tired of running away from Jenny. Even after years of filing a restraining order, she keeps harassing me. I'm exhausted." "Stay strong, Scarlett. I'm doing my best to handle her. I think your marriage and my engagement have given her fresh ideas. I'm afraid she will do something stupid." "Don't worry, Devin. I'll be on the watch out. I'm not that naive girl anymore. Jenny can plan as much as she wants. I won't let her take Lily, and I was adamant to protect my child. I quickly ordered high-security cameras and installed them all around the house. I also briefed Lily's school and babysitter about Jenny so that she can't cook up weird stories. Carlos was with me through it all. Years of therapy helped me deal with the situation better. While the old me would panic and become paranoid, the new me stayed calm and made plans. I was seriously praying to God that Jenny doesn't pull any stunts this time. I won't let her get away with her antics. Jenny's last crazy episode happened very soon. That morning, I was at my office pulling an overtime shift. Suddenly, I was surprised by a call from Devin. To be honest, I had no idea why he would call me at work. For some reason, my stomach was in knots as I picked up the phone. Devin sounded panicked and said, "Scarlett, you have to listen to me. This is serious. Mom just left me a message that she's bringing back Lily. I know you will never allow that. I'm afraid she will do something stupid." "What the hell, Devin? I never gave her permission to take Lily." "Hell, we have a restraining order against her. I think Mom is planning to kidnap Lily and bring her to my house. I've tried to change her mind, but I'm afraid she will run away with her if I push her too much. You need to stop her before she takes Lily." "Thank you for telling me, Devin. I have no idea why Jenny still hasn't got the hint. Her behavior keeps escalating. She is adamant that Lily should stay with me. Mom is still obsessed with having me replace Daniel as her dad, but she's being very unreasonable. I know she needs help, but she refuses to go to therapy. I'm sorry to say this, Devin, but this time I don't think I can forgive her if she really tries to kidnap my daughter. I will be sending her to jail." Devin said that he understood my stance and why I would do this. He promised to be in touch in case something went wrong. Meanwhile, I started to plan a trap for Jenny. I knew that even if I left work right now, I wouldn't be able to reach home on time. So I picked up my phone and made a call. Then I simply sat back and waited for Jenny to show up. I had a very small hope in my heart that Jenny wouldn't be this crazy. Well, it turns out she is truly crazy. My house has security cameras covering the entire place. I was able to watch everything while driving back home with a friend. As I watched Lily play on the lawn, I spotted Jenny making an entrance. Guys, Jenny actually tried to take my daughter. I was absolutely enraged by her behavior. Even after what happened, she wanted to ignore the court and take my child. She did it in the afternoon, knowing that I wouldn't be home. However, she didn't know one thing about my life. Carlos and I had gotten married 6 months ago, and just inside the house, Lily's new stepfather was watching everything. As soon as Jenny snatched up Lily, she cried out for Carlos, and immediately he came and blocked the front door. Through the security camera, I could see that Jenny went completely white as a ghost. Then her jaw dropped. My daughter fought off her arms and ran straight to Carlos. There was one thing she didn't know about the new man in my life. Carlos was a police officer. To be precise, he was the sheriff of our county. Jenny just took one look at him, and her jaw dropped, specifically because he was still in his police uniform. He was just back from work and spending time with my daughter before I came home. The call I made from the office was to Carlos. He is the one who picked up my daughter from school and stayed home till I came back. Jenny stupidly thought that I would leave my daughter unsupervised. Instead, she found a living and breathing cop stationed at my house. I heard them say, "What are you doing here, Jenny? I know you are Scarlett's mother-in-law. I'm interested to know what brings you here." "I'm here for my grandbaby. It's time she spends time with me." "Who the hell are you, and where is my grandbaby?" "Well, first of all, you are not supposed to be in this house, and I also know that you don't have any visitation rights with Scarlett's daughter. I would suggest you tell me your intentions since there are cameras in the house." "Who the hell are you? Why are you in this house around my granddaughter? You're not supposed to be here." "I am not an unknown man. I'm her stepfather, and I have full rights to be here." "You are not supposed to be here since you have trespassed into my house, tried to kidnap Lily, and violated restraining orders. I have already called my mates to come and arrest you." No, you cannot arrest me. I'm not doing something wrong. My granddaughter belongs to me and Dean. I won't let Scarlett let a stranger raise Daniel's daughter. Only Devin is fit to be her dad. Listen to me, Jenny. You need to step away from this house right now. The cops will come and arrest you if I don't do it myself. Jenny kept arguing with Carlos while I hurried home to them. My friend from work drove me to my house. While I was watching the confrontation, Carlos kept warning Jenny that she would face some serious charges if she didn't leave. Well, Jenny decided to be a martyr and continued to try and argue with him. As soon as I reached the house, Jenny started to shout at me. She said, "You witch, you intentionally married a cop so that you can take away my granddaughter. This is all you're planning. I always knew you were a total witch." "Calm down, Jenny. You keep forgetting the fact that my cop husband is right in this house. Believe it or not, he will arrest you if you keep harassing us. I won't go down so easily. I'll tell everyone that you were cheating with Carlos before Daniel died. I will ruin your reputation and take Lily." "Carlos, you can add harassment and slander to Jenny's list of offenses now." Looks like she won't stop. Just at that moment, the rest of the cops arrived. They came inside the house and spoke to Carlos about the situation. When Carlos and I gave our statements, Jenny threw another fit. She started to scream and cry about how unfair and selfish we were being. She said, "You are a vile woman, Scarlett. You want to keep me away from Lily. You have no respect for Daniel's memories. Why can't you just give Devin my granddaughter? He's the only one who should be her dad. Now, you have some serious audacity coming to my house and trying to take my daughter away. What makes you think I will ever allow you near her again? She is my granddaughter. I have the right to decide who raises her. The courts are wrong. I deserve to be with Lily." Jenny took that opportunity to attack me again. Yes, this crazy lady tried to assault me in front of my cop husband and friends. She was immediately restrained, and Carlos looked extremely pissed off. He spoke with his colleagues, and in a few seconds, Jenny was taken away in cuffs. She did try to fight those officers, and that added another offense to her already extensive criminal record. She was taken away, but not before she could throw some insanely inappropriate comments towards me and my husband. After everything happened, I took some time off work to be with my daughter. She was still traumatized by everything, especially by the way Jenny tried to grab her and run. Even I am exhausted from dealing with Jenny and had a hard time balancing everything. Carlos has been a huge support to both me and Lily. Lily has even started to call them dad. She does know about Daniel. but she also sees Carlos as a father. I'm so happy that my little girl is finally starting to have a normal life. Devin and I talked in detail about what went down. He did apologize for his mother's behavior multiple times. I assured him that none of this is his fault and he should take Jenny's blame. He was a great uncle to Lily and tried to replace Daniel. Devin continues to visit us every week to spend time with Lily and my family. He has since uninvited Jenny from his wedding and is planning to go no contact with her. Speaking of Jenny, she will be spending time in jail by now. She has managed to work towards an impressive list of charges that keeps getting worse. From what Carlos has told me, she will likely face fines along with a short prison sentence. She's tried her best to turn the judge against us, but even the lawyer knows she's a lost cause. We're still waiting for the final hearing, so I can't share all the details of the court proceedings. However, it looks like me, Carlos, and Lily will finally have some peace away from my crazy ex-mother-in-law. I'm Logan. I'm 19 years old and I'm studying to be a doctor. I'm from Texas, but now I live in New York City for college. My parents are in Dallas, where my dad works as a surgeon at a university hospital, and my mom stays home. After high school, I moved to New York and I've been on my own for about 4 months now, since July. My dad's work inspired me to study hard and get into medical school. But since coming here, I haven't had the typical college experience I hoped for. I've been focused on my studies, which is important, but I also wanted to hang out with friends and join clubs. Unfortunately, money has been tight, so I couldn't do those things. My parents pay my tuition, but I have to pay for everything else like rent and living expenses. To make ends meet, I've been doing different jobs like tutoring, working at events, and even at a bar. But it's been tough. I often have to switch between shifts at different jobs just to get by each month. Weekends are when I try to earn the most money. I never really had a day off. It was tough both mentally and physically. I get sleepy during class, and when I come home late at night, I'm too tired to study. I'm worried I might fail my classes and have to repeat the year if things keep going like this. Studying should be my top priority, but I'm struggling to focus. I felt anxious and desperate, so I called my mom for some financial help, even if it was just a little. My dad is hardly ever home because he's busy with his job, so my mom handles the finances. I thought they could help because my dad earns well, but my mom said they couldn't afford to send extra money. Many of my friends get financial help from their parents, and I wished I had that too. Despite all this, I kept working hard at my jobs. The midterms came, but I hadn't studied enough, and as I expected, I had to retake some exams. After finishing the retests in early August, my summer vacation began. I'm planning to work a lot during this long break to earn as much money as possible. Once summer is over, I'll focus more on my studies. That means cutting down on work hours, which should help my finances. To save money, I've been eating cheap foods like instant noodles, bread, and discounted meals. I also use my bike instead of paying for transportation. Growing up, I never had to worry about money, so this new life of financial struggle is unexpected and tough. Despite all this, I stay in touch with college friends through texts. Seeing their fun photos makes me realize how different our lives are, even though we go to the same university. My friends often invited me out, but I had to reluctantly decline because I didn't have the money or the time. Let's go somewhere that doesn't cost anything, I suggested. One of our classmates messaged me, "Are you sure you're okay? You always seem tired at school, and I think you're working too much." My friend was concerned about me. I've got the physical stamina, and I need to earn my living expenses. Let's meet up once school starts again, I replied. After that, I went to work at the bar as usual, but something happened shortly after. I collapsed during my shift. It was a busy Friday with lots of customers, and as I was carrying drinks, I suddenly felt dizzy. I don't remember much after that, but when I came to, I found myself in the hospital. According to the doctor, I collapsed due to exhaustion and malnutrition. I received treatment and was allowed to go home the same day. I immediately called my boss at the bar to apologize. My boss explained that after I collapsed, he had called my name, but I was too out of it to respond, so he called an ambulance. He had also contacted my parents. "You've been taking on a lot of shifts, and I relied too much on that. I'm sorry about that. I want you to rest easy for the rest of the month," my boss said. This meant a cut in my income. As I rode the subway home from the hospital, I wondered if I should take on more tutoring jobs. I found myself at a loss. I was supposed to work at the bar the next day, but that suddenly turned into a day off. I decided to quietly stay in bed today. While checking my phone, I noticed a message from my friend that I had missed while I was unconscious. I replied and explained why my response was delayed. Upon learning about my situation, my friend decided to come over. He bought groceries at the supermarket and made spaghetti for me. While eating the meal he had kindly prepared, our conversation turned to the topic of living expenses for someone living alone. When I mentioned that I wasn't receiving any financial support from home, my friend was surprised. That's why you've been working so hard. Your dad's a doctor. You should be getting some support. No, I explained. I asked Mom, and she said they're barely managing with just my tuition. But you're an only child, right? Maybe if you ask, they could send a little support, my friend suggested. My mom said even a small amount of support was out of the question. No way, that doesn't make sense. I hate to say this, but maybe your dad is sick and can't work, my friend speculated. Thinking it over, I said, my dad is a doctor and used to drive a luxury car. Our house is in an upscale neighborhood, and I went to private schools my whole life. So why would Mom suddenly say they have no money? Suddenly worried, I immediately messaged my mom. Are you both okay? She replied after a while. We're fine, but I couldn't relax, thinking maybe they were just saying that to keep me from worrying. Since I had planned to go home for the holidays, I decided to talk to my parents about this. After thanking my friend, he said, I'll be waiting for some souvenirs. I felt grateful to have such a friend. The holiday season came and I took the cheapest flight I could find back home. I could only stay for a night and a day because of my job, but I was looking forward to it. When I arrived, my parents greeted me at the door. My dad seemed surprised when he saw me. You've lost a lot of weight. Really? I hadn't noticed myself, but apparently I looked quite different. My mom was also taken aback and fell silent. For lunch, my mom had prepared things like salad, soup, and chicken wings, and for the first time in a long while, the three of us sat down to eat together. As soon as we sat down, my dad looked worried and asked, You look thinner. Are you eating properly? I told him the truth. Not really. It's been a while since I had such a luxurious meal. What do you usually eat? Cafeteria food? My dad asked. Nah, the cafeteria is too expensive for me. Is it that expensive? It's about $5 or so. My dad looked puzzled. Is the money I've been sending enough for you? Confused, I responded. Huh? I haven't been getting any money, I finally told my dad. What do you mean? So you mean to tell me you haven't received any money for the past 4 months? He asked, shocked. I haven't received any, I replied. Have you really been sending money? I had asked your mom to transfer $2,000 every month into your account, Dad said, surprised. Really? I was surprised. Mom told me that your finances were tight and that she couldn't afford to send any money. I explained. Dad looked perplexed. We have enough money. Paisley, have you been sending money to Logan properly? He asked Mom. Mom looked down silently. I was worried that maybe Dad got sick or something and couldn't work, and that's why the money wasn't coming. No, I've been working as usual, Dad assured. Really? That's a relief, I said, somewhat relieved. But then why hadn't any money been sent to me? I was baffled. Cassie, what's going on? Dad pressed Mom. Still refusing to meet our eyes, Mom remained silent. Come on, don't stay silent. Can you explain? Dad insisted. When Dad pressed her, Mom finally said quietly, I haven't sent any money. What? I haven't sent any money to Logan, she admitted. Hearing this, both my dad and I were stunned. What? Why not? Dad asked, incredulous. There are just so many expenses, Mom replied. What kind of expenses? Isn't our home mortgage already paid off? Dad questioned. Realizing she could no longer hide the truth, Mom dropped a bombshell. I've been keeping the money for myself, she confessed. I was dumbstruck. I read online that medical students can earn more than regular students with tutoring jobs, so I thought you'd be okay. I asked you to send me even just a small amount of money, but honestly, I didn't realize you were that strapped for cash, Mom explained. My mom continued in a matter-of-fact tone. There was a call from Logan's workplace recently saying you collapsed from overwork. I was also shocked to see how thin you've become. What? Logan collapsed. What happened? It seemed my dad hadn't been informed about the recent events, so I explained. You collapsed from overwork and malnutrition. Yeah, but it wasn't anything serious, I added. Paisley, why didn't you tell me? My dad asked, clearly upset. I'm sorry. I was afraid he'd find out I wasn't sending the money, my mom said without any sign of guilt. This is outrageous. Logan had to work until he collapsed because he didn't have any money, Dad exclaimed. I didn't mean any harm, my mom defended herself. What have you been using all the money for? Dad confronted her. After a brief pause, she finally spoke up. Well, actually, I have some debts. What? Those were unimaginable words coming from her, who always seemed to perfectly manage the household and even took care of the garden flowers. I thought. The money was used to pay off my debts, Mom continued. Debt? How much do you owe? Dad asked, clearly in disbelief. Mom, still looking down, said quietly, about $100,000. $100,000. I was shocked by the amount. My dad sighed deeply. Why do you have so much debt? I got into gambling, Mom confessed. Basically, I had gotten myself into gambling debts without our knowledge. Why would you even start something like that? Dad asked, holding his head in his hands. About 2 years ago, I started gambling just to kill time. I won some money and it felt really good at first. I'd only use small amounts, but going to the casino became a habit, and I started betting more and more. I couldn't stop, and it led to that amount. I had never gambled, so I couldn't understand why she couldn't stop. Yes, I kept trying to win back what I lost, but I ended up losing more often than winning. I even dipped into our savings, she admitted. So you've spent more than just the debt amount? Dad yelled at her. How much of our savings did you use? He demanded. About $30,000, Mom confessed. I stopped withdrawing more because I thought you would find out. She looked like she was about to cry. If you'd talked to me about it earlier, it might have been better. With that amount, you could have worked part-time and paid it back little by little, right? Dad said. I absolutely don't want to work part-time, she said emphatically. Get a grip. You racked up the debt yourself. He was visibly angry. I've been a stay-at-home mom for so long. There's no way I can work now. That's why I borrowed money from payday lenders, she confessed. I was stunned by her selfish reasoning. Then the interest piled up and the debt just grew. I got involved with various lenders, and now I can't make payments anywhere. I'm completely overwhelmed. Dad sighed again. Are you still gambling in this situation? Yes, I see no choice, Mom admitted. Then I'll pay off the debt for you, Dad said decisively. Really? Mom stood up from her chair, her face brightening with joy. I knew you would help me. She rushed towards him, looking moved. However, things didn't turn out as favorably for her. But this is your severance. Let's get a divorce, Dad said abruptly. What? I was surprised. Divorce? I will never agree to a divorce, Mom said firmly. Her face turned from joy to terror, as if she had been cast down from heaven to hell. You continued gambling even knowing Logan was struggling, right? You kept borrowing money, endangering the family, Dad pointed out. That's true, but I can't continue as a family with a wife who prioritizes gambling over her son, he insisted. No way, she finally burst into tears. I'll never gamble again. Please forgive me, she pleaded. But he seemed resolute. Your gambling is likely an addiction. You'll need to see a psychiatrist and undergo long-term treatment. It's not uncommon for people to relapse into gambling during treatment. I'm not addicted. I can stop anytime, she protested. No, if this continues, we could all end up destitute. I have to separate, not just for my sake, but to stop burdening Logan any further. I'll stop from tomorrow, she insisted, but she did not seem to grasp the severity of her inability to stop gambling. I was deeply anxious about the amount of debt and my mom's pathological gambling behavior. In exchange for paying your severance, there will be no division of assets, my dad stated. What? I can't agree to those terms. If you don't pay back the debt, they might seize your account. She fell silent. I never imagined coming home after a long time would lead to this situation. I was just unsettled by my parents fighting. No, Dad, don't you think we can hold off on deciding about divorce? Maybe take some time to cool off and think it over, I suggested. I'm sorry, Logan, but that's not possible, he said calmly. I thought he might have decided on divorce in a fit of despair, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Lunch ended in a heavy atmosphere, and I went to my room. I lay down on the sofa, but I could still hear my parents arguing. It wasn't much of an argument. My mom was hysterically screaming, and my dad responded firmly. I got so fed up with college and home that I just went to sleep out of frustration. The next morning, my mom looked awful, probably from crying all night. I had planned to stay at home a bit longer, but the oppressive atmosphere made me decide to leave early. My dad drove me to the airport. "Logan, I'm sorry for all the trouble I've caused," he apologized to me. "No, it's not your fault, Dad. I'm grateful for the chance to attend medical school," I reassured him. "I'll start transferring an allowance directly to your account from now on, so don't worry," he said. "Yeah, thanks, Dad. It really helps," I replied. "I know things are tough, but take care," he said as he dropped me off. I flew back to New York. The rest of the summer vacation was busy with work, passing by in a flash. Still, I was constantly worried about my parents. A few months later, I heard that my mom finally agreed to the divorce. My dad's steadfastness broke her resistance. As previously discussed, my dad took on her debts, and in return, there was no asset division in their divorce agreement. I have mixed feelings about my parents getting divorced, but it's not all bad news. Now that I'm receiving an allowance from my dad, I've been able to cut back on work and focus more on my studies. I might even get to hang out with friends. I heard from my grandmother on my mother's side that despite the divorce over her gambling, my mom was back at the slot machines every day. She quickly racked up more debt. Her family couldn't afford to cover her debts, so my mom reluctantly started working part-time. She's currently attending therapy to overcome her gambling addiction.
When I got to the next beautiful spot in my rental car, my mother-in-law called. As if she had been there the whole time, it was my wife's mom. Then I asked, "Hello, Mrs. Johnson, what's up?" with a knowing look at my husband David. On the other end, her voice was crazy. "Leave David alone right now. Get your clothes in a bag and go to the bus stop by the rocks." "Tell me what you're talking about, Mrs. Johnson. David is going to hit you. He's hiding a gun in the car." That's the game she was following. I can't believe David would. "Okay, I'll leave right away." Even though my answer was a little flat, it seemed to have persuaded her. She hung up right away. "My name is Emily Johnson, and I'm 29 years old. I work in an office. David and I got married last year, but because of the COVID outbreak, we only recorded our marriage. Because we've been able to travel since the plague is over, we're planning our late vacation. Our bosses were flexible and let us take time off for our vacation. We picked a national park because we wanted to take lots of pictures, even though we haven't been married in a while. David likes to edit videos for fun, while I like to take pictures of landscapes. We've even talked about making a YouTube account just for landscape movies. Since we got married, our life has been quiet but happy, but there has been one worry. Mrs. Johnson, David's mom. Her son David has always made her happy. Whenever David and I talked about getting married, she always seemed to be against me. Her sneaky advances against me in meetings happen all the time. And what's worse is that she does them without David knowing. Insidiously, she would disparage me whenever I received compliments or expressed myself during a family gathering. "Emily, did you make the stew? There's no one else like this dish around here. But it tastes good. That tastes really good. Could you tell me how to make the stew? I'd like to make it at home if it's easy. Did you enjoy it?" I'm happy. I'm going to write down the recipe right now. "That's fine, Emily, but you might also want to learn some local recipes. It will make people praise you more." It works like that most of the time. She is not complimenting my one-of-a-kind stew. Instead, she is telling me to stick to the traditional recipes and not stand out. In fact, there was a lot of snark when the family left and Mrs. Johnson and I were doing the dishes alone. A frightening woman who was always striving to stand out by preparing such a salty stew and intended to give our family hypertension or something. I took a bite. "Was it too salty for you? Next time, I'll use less salt. I no longer even want to eat your salty stew. Next time, do something more traditional." But when David comes around, she acts much differently. Uncle John told Emily, "Thanks for the stew recipe. Your dish seemed to be a hit with everyone." "Really then? That's wonderful. What do you want to eat tomorrow?" "David, Emily, and I are going to make it together." She would smile and smile her way into our talk. To change the subject, it's so obvious that it's hard to be mad about it. After that, it became kind of a joke for us. The funny part is that David already knows about her double dealing and sly jabs. I'm always in trouble with Mrs. Johnson when her son isn't around because she thinks he doesn't see. But David, my husband, already knows her and even films or records her in secret when things get too bad. David has never liked how his mother's love is too much, which is really just too much meddling. It seems to have even crushed his hopes for the future. So when we got married, David, not me, said we couldn't live together. Even though it was a happy event, Mrs. Johnson seems to believe that I was the one who lied to him. She can't see anything around her because she loves her son too much. I'm afraid she'll do something stupid soon. Another thing is that we finally chose the details for our late trip. With our interests in mind, we chose a trip through some of the country's most beautiful spots. I'm happily getting cameras and other tools ready. David is also getting a smartphone to record movies that doesn't have a SIM card. That's why we packed a bag with clothes and toiletries. On this trip, we'll be able to see mountains and drops. I want to take beautiful pictures, so we need to check the weather forecast too. That's right. Misty and beautiful landscapes are hard to describe, but I really hope it's sunny today. As we continued to get ready, we laughed together. But Mrs. Johnson still gets in the way, even now. That was a call. Like I said, it's Mrs. Johnson. Hello, I said when I picked up the phone in front of David. I quickly put it on speakers. Hi, Kate, Emily. Are you really going to go on the trip with David? You've been married for more than a year, and now you're taking a honeymoon? What do you think? It looks like she doesn't want me to go on vacation with my husband. To deal with this, the best thing to do is show off your trip. Well, we finally don't have to follow any rules. David's business and mine have both agreed to let us take time off for our vacation, which we're going to make the most of. She took my bait and became my wife. What do you mean, have fun? It's probably just a bad trip and a cheap hotel. I feel bad for David. The things Mrs. Johnson said made David frown and keep quiet. David was the one who planned this trip, not a travel agency. I changed how I spoke after seeing David's face. No, it's not a cheap hotel at all. David set everything up. We're staying at a very fancy hotel with a great view. The food is also 5 stars, but the prices are very low. I spoke nicely on purpose to make Mrs. Johnson angry. I'm always getting picked on, and this time she was making fun of the trip that David planned. A really high-end hotel. Why do you want to go with David? I want to go on that trip. David would want to show me how thankful he is for his family. After hearing about the very fancy hotel, she couldn't keep quiet. Now she's saying she wants to go on the trip herself. This is not the kind of honeymoon that a mother would crash. It's not going to happen. It's rude to step in on your son and daughter-in-law's long-awaited vacation. We'll make sure you have a souvenir. Saying goodbye. I hung up the phone, picturing Mrs. Johnson's angry face. I laughed meanly, and when I hung up, David had his head held up in front of me. I'm sorry about my mom, Emily. She tried to ruin our holiday, which I can't believe. She probably just wanted to express her deep affection for her son, she explained. Don't be worried about it. There was a hint of worry in my voice as I smiled at David, because I was so angry at her. I beat her at her own game, but I might have failed. What would happen if Mrs. Johnson got really excited about our vacation and started bothering us? This fear of mine turned out to be right in the end. From that point on until the trip left, Mrs. Johnson didn't say a word, not even a call. I thought she would tell David bad things about me. That also didn't happen. Even though her quiet scared me, we went on our getaway as planned. David's choice of beautiful places worked out perfectly, and I was happy with the whole thing. It was the best in every way. The view, the services, the food, everything. That's why I told Mrs. Johnson how great it was. We even asked the hotel staff to take a shot of us having dinner together. David, I'm so full. Thank you so much for setting this all up, I said as I fell asleep on the hotel bed. It felt so soft and cozy on the bed. David, my husband, was very happy to see me rolling around in bed. He said, I'm glad you like it. Let's go to the spa after you've had a chance to rest. I'll look at the pictures and movies we took today while we wait. The health spa. What a wonderful place. David suddenly raised his voice. He had been opening his laptop and watching me enjoy the soft bed. I finally asked, "What's going on here?" When I heard something strange in David's voice, I got out of bed and looked at his computer. Our plan for today was to rent a car and get around. We parked the rental car and took pictures and movies at every beautiful place we went. In some places, you could see the rental car in the background. That wasn't a problem in and of itself, but there were times when a strange person, who looked like a small woman, was hanging out near the rental car. Even though we couldn't see her face, we thought the strange person was a small woman. The suspect was opening the car door every once in a while. Oh, look at this. Because we were only there for a short time, we didn't lock the car, David said in a low voice through the screen. I knew what kind of hat the suspicious person was wearing. Hey, this hat. Doesn't Mrs. Johnson have one like this? When I said, yes, Mrs. Johnson has a similar hat, David's face went pale. That's correct. This is my mom's hat. David and I looked at the computer screen with wide eyes. The person who seemed sketchy was putting something black into the rental car. They looked like Mrs. Johnson. She looked like she was taking something out of the trip bag that she had left in the rental car. Then, after some time, the strange person left without taking anything. Something was put in the bag for the trip. I quickly threw it out. It had a strange weight to it. I didn't notice the change in weight because the bellman carried it for us when we got to the hotel. It was a bag with clothes and toiletries in it, but nothing important. It looked like nothing was stolen. After that, a strange thing came out of the bottom of the bag. What came out shocked David and me. What is this? You're kidding me. We were both very tired when we left the hotel the next morning. Because of the amazing thing that came out of the bag the day before, we were very busy. The phone almost always rang at the exact moment we got to the next beautiful spot in the rental car. It came from Mrs. Johnson. David was on the phone, so I told him to pick up. Hello, Mrs. Johnson, what's going on? The person on the other end of the phone from Mrs. Johnson sounded very upset. Get away from my kid right now. Get the bag with extra clothes in it and go to the Cape's bus stop. How does she know there's a bus stop close to the Cape where we're on vacation? What about our luggage? How does she know about things like the bag with the extra clothes? She called at just the right time, so I think she's probably hiding and watching somewhere. There were a lot of confusing parts of the call, so I asked Mrs. Johnson for a reason. Tell me what you're talking about, Mrs. Johnson. David is getting ready to attack you? He has a gun hidden in the car. Oh, I see. That's the case. I pretended to follow Mrs. Johnson's lead. Even though I already knew everything, it's not possible. David is hitting me. Okay, I get it. I'm leaving now. Even though my answer was a little stiff, I think I was able to trick Mrs. Johnson. Mrs. Johnson hung up right away. I waved to David, who was driving, and then took the bag and went to the bus stop. I didn't forget to act scared, of course. After that, I called the cops. After about 5 minutes, I got to the Cape's bus stop, where an investigator in an unmarked police car met me. Well, yesterday's prediction came true. The agent looked upset and said, I never thought you'd really call it in. I'm truly sorry that I took part in this joke. Please come with me. I think David should have caught Mrs. Johnson by now. As I drove back to the rental car, the investigator followed me in his plainclothes car. Yes, I could hear Mrs. Johnson's words from where we parked the rental car. Hey, David, how did you know where I was? It looked like Mrs. Johnson had no idea that her evil plan would be found out ahead of time. My husband found her hiding in the shade of a gazebo in the parking lot and caught her. Not right now. Today, I won't forgive you. Mrs. Johnson was scared by the way her husband looked like a demon. She was even more shocked when she saw me come back with the detective. As Mrs. Johnson had planned, I had a travel bag in my hand. The moment Mrs. Johnson saw it, she yelled, Officer, arrest that woman right away. There's a gun in that bag, she says. She wants to use it to kill my son. Mrs. Johnson yelled at me in that manner, displaying a proud expression as she did so. I stood still in front of Mrs. Johnson and dumped the bag's contents on the ground. The pants were wrapped up in a small bag so that the men wouldn't be able to see them. While Mrs. Johnson looked for something, she couldn't find it. What? Where is the gun? It should be there since I put it there yesterday. Is this the gun you are looking for? The detective showed Mrs. Johnson a picture. It was a picture of a hunting gun put in a plastic bag. Upon seeing the picture the detective showed, Mrs. Johnson's face went pale. That shooting gun belonged to my late father-in-law, didn't it? Honestly, how did you manage to open the gun safe? When I found it yesterday, I thought my heart would stop. I gave it to the cops right away after calling them. Mrs. Johnson clenched her teeth and looked down when she heard my voice and the voice of my husband. Oh, Emily is to blame because it was in her bag. It has nothing to do with me. Mrs. Johnson began yelling out of panic. My husband and I both let out big sighs. The officer then came up to Mrs. Johnson with a big smile on his face. Yes, we had to ask Emily about it since it was in her bag. Yesterday was supposed to be a holiday, but we questioned her for hours. Why did you know that Emily's gun was in her room bag? Even though the detective was happy, his voice was soft. I can see why he's mad. Besides, the shooting gun was taken out without permission, even though it wasn't trained. It was in Emily's bag, though. Because Mrs. Johnson couldn't face the detective, she desperately tried to explain herself. Oh, so you saw Emily's travel preparations, but you and Emily's family are separated, aren't you? Of course, we're separated, and we haven't let her into our house for a year. When that was said, Mrs. Johnson yelled back, "Don't speak out of turn." The police officer pressed Mrs. Johnson even more. Oh no, were you watching Emily's house? No, that's not a good thing to do. You need to go to the station with us. Mr. Johnson freaked out when she heard the detective's line, which sounded like it came straight from a police show. No, I wasn't spying. So you can't take me against my will. I put that gun in there. Oh, she told everyone on her own. Well, I had already said it earlier when I turned the bag inside out. Before this, the detective had been happy, but now he wasn't. All right, a confession. You'll be coming with us on your own because you broke the gun rule. Mrs. Johnson was shocked when the detective spoke. What? Why? Didn't I say I wasn't spying? When Mrs. Johnson spoke out against it, her son got very angry. It makes sense, Mom. The gun your dad gave you was yours, but you don't have a shooting license. There would be no problem if the father-in-law, who had a shooting license, carried it properly for the right reason. You can't take it out of the gun safe because you don't have a shooting license. Mrs. Johnson didn't seem to know anything about gun rules or how to handle guns. I don't know how she got it this far without an accident, even though the live ammo was kept separate and not put into the gun. Even so, Mrs. Johnson still refused. But it had to be in that woman's bag when it was found at the hotel. That woman took it from my house. I'm not to blame. His mother, Mrs. Johnson, was acting badly, so her son got angry. I recorded yesterday when Mom put a gun in her rental car. Of course, I gave it to the cops. What David said made Mrs. Johnson weak in the knees. What? How? How did you learn about it? She was so angry that tears filled her eyes. I told them instead of him. Yesterday, David was recording and got a shot of the parking lot. We didn't see it at the time, but we did see it when we watched the video at the hotel. Mrs. Johnson could no longer disagree with what I said. At this point, the officer told Mrs. Johnson, who was shocked, "Now, Mrs. Kate Johnson, we'd like you to come with us to the station because we think you broke gun laws." When David said those words, Mrs. Johnson's face turned sad. Why, David? Why is that woman better than me? Are you leaving your mom? The detective pushed Mrs. Johnson, who was yelling, into the empty police car. You might not want to make a fuss. When I called the house yesterday to check the gun's serial number, your son's grandma, who I think is an old woman, was very angry. As soon as the agent said that, Mrs. Johnson calmed down. That grandmother is David's grandmother. She is old, but she is still healthy and doesn't show any signs of dementia. She's pretty much in charge of the Johnson family. At this point, Mrs. Johnson is completely giving in to her. She's the head of the family. but she's not mean to other people. When I go to see my in-laws, she's always so happy to see me and calls me Emily dear. She is nice. But Mrs. Johnson has to do her jobs the right way. Her own room and bathroom were taken care of by her. What made her so mad must have been pretty tough, I said under my breath. The detective told me, "It looks like your husband's grandmother has been keeping the shooting gun as a keepsake since your father-in-law died. But the other day, the box with the memory in it was broken into. When they found out that, it caused the current fuss. Her anger was unbearable." I see. To get the key, Mrs. Johnson must have searched her whole room. I told her it's easy to see how angry she would be that her son's keepsake was broken. After handing over the rifle at the station, I asked to take a picture of it for her so she could at least keep a photograph as a memento. I said, "My husband's grandmother was mean to Mrs. Johnson. She had cried and said sorry to me and David. A family member who went to pick her up said that she yelled at Mrs. Johnson in a way that could be heard all over the neighborhood for more than 30 minutes. Oh, your grandmother really does get that mad. That's why Mom always did what Grandma said. Now everyone in the neighborhood knows what Mom did wrong," I said. Yes, thanks to his grandma's lecture, the incident became widely known, and Mrs. Johnson could no longer walk the streets. When his grandmother found out that David had broken up with her, she got permission from the police station and the prosecutor's office to send Mrs. Johnson to a farm run by a relative in the Nebraska mountains, in an area that looks like a basin. She could come back, but it would take 3 hours to get here by car. She was working so hard on the farm that she couldn't possibly get away. After some time, it turned out that I was pregnant. The family, my husband, and his grandma were all very happy. His grandmother was already excited about having a great-grandchild and started to work on making her legs stronger. My husband and her are going to fight to see who can take the baby for walks in the pram. I hope she doesn't drop the great-grandchild while holding it. She has also begun to improve the strength of her upper body. It's nice to see her getting her mood back. She was really down because of Mrs. Johnson's fuss. My husband and I are getting all of the baby stuff together today. I'd like to live with your grandmother if it's possible. She's really excited about it, and it looks like she'll live a long time following the birth, taking care of the child with grandma. I told them, we'll figure it out some way. Well, if she lives longer, I'll be happy to. My husband said, I'll talk to grandma about it. I took out the camera. I rubbed my belly and said, when the baby is born, I'm going to take lots of pictures of the baby, my husband, his grandmother, and the rest of the family. I spent $200,000. Kenny, who didn't even come to my mom's funeral, had suddenly flown overseas. $200,000. What did you do with all that money? Remember our nice piano at home? I sold the dude. Being from a rich family has its perks. It was a good piano. I never thought it would sell for $200,000. Kenny thought the piano at home was his, but he was wrong. My condolences. I get all the inheritance from the family estate. But that piano was actually bought by our grandpa for my brother, so it's still his. My brother loves that piano and teaches piano now. He left it at our house because it's too big for his place. If my brother finds out we sold it without asking him, he'll be really mad. Just giving him money won't fix it. When I told Kenny this, he hung up right away. Hi, I'm Rachel Schneider, a 45-year-old office worker. My family has a long history tracing back to colonial times and is quite prominent in our community. Thanks to my late father's successful business, we now possess assets worth $9 million. Originally, my older brother was set to inherit the family estate, but he chose love over inheritance, opting to forego his rights to marry his girlfriend, who needed an heir for her family's wealth. This decision left me with the task of finding a spouse to carry on our family name. Despite my desire for independence and reluctance to rely on family wealth, I focused solely on my career, and before I knew it, I was in my mid-40s and still single. Realizing the urgency of continuing our family line, I decided to take action and attended a singles mixer. It was there that I met Kenny, my current husband. Surprisingly, he's 10 years younger than me, but at the event, he showed no interest in the younger women and approached me directly. "I'm not sure if you're okay with someone my age," I asked him multiple times. But Kenny gazed into my eyes and replied, "I'm a bit shy and not very assertive. I've always been attracted to older, more grounded women." Kenny's demeanor matched his words, gentle and reserved. I sensed he could bring a sense of calm to my family, which tends to be assertive. As our relationship blossomed, there was something important I needed to share with him. My mother had been ill and bedridden for the past year, and my sister-in-law, Catherine, and I were taking turns caring for her. Considering our age and the prospect of marriage, I struggled with how to reveal this to Kenny. Eventually, on our third date, I mustered the courage to tell him. To my relief, he not only accepted but also proposed, expressing his willingness to assist with caregiving. His kindness deeply moved me. At least, that's how I initially felt. Kenny works as a daycare teacher, but just 4 months into our marriage, he expressed a sudden desire to quit his job. When I inquired about the reason, he wore a remorseful expression and said, "Sorry, Rachel. The parents at the daycare are too demanding and complain a lot. I can't handle it anymore." It was evident that Kenny was struggling, appearing so timid. Normally, I would have encouraged him to persevere, but with him assisting in my mother's care and my pregnancy progressing, I remained silent. However, I soon began to regret my leniency. One day, as I exited the shower and approached the bedroom, I overheard Kenny whispering on the phone. What I heard left me shocked and unsettled. I managed to tie the knot without her suspecting a thing. I'm jobless. She bought my story about quitting work hook, line, and sinker. Little does she know, I ditched that job 2 years back. His conversation seemed directed at a friend on the other end of the line. A faint male voice responded, "You're quite the operator. Rachel's family is loaded, so I thought I hit the jackpot when I met her at that singles event. But let's face it, given her age, I was probably her only option. I felt duped. Was the sweet Kenny I fell for all an act? I wanted to confront him right then and there, but the thought of the baby stopped me cold. With Kenny's true colors revealed, I began to doubt our future. Today, Catherine will be looking after my mom until 5:00 p.m. Then it's my turn. I debated whether to confide in someone about Kenny. That's when my brother's wife, Catherine, approached me. "Rachel, you seem troubled. If there's anything on your mind, feel free to share," Catherine said, her kindness evident, having cared for her own mother for years and now mine. She's really good with Mom too. So I confided in her about Kenny, and she listened attentively. "It's good you opened up. Keeping it to yourself could harm your unborn child," she reassured me. "Yeah, I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Talking won't solve everything, but it does lighten the load. Still, this situation is quite something." Catherine looked genuinely concerned, almost as if it were her own problem. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, and Kenny walked in without waiting for an answer. Both of us were surprised, but Kenny acted as if nothing was wrong and smiled. "Rachel, I'll be helping with your mom's care from now on. You're not in the safe period yet, so I don't want you to strain yourself," Kenny said, playing the gentleman in front of me. "Really? Okay, let me show you how to care for her." "No, I'll learn from Catherine. You just rest at home." "Well, my brother's coming home early today, so we won't need her help." Upon hearing that, Catherine looked at me, shaking her head, as if to say, "It's okay." She might confront Kenny and get the full story once I'm gone. With that in mind, I decided to leave it to her and head home. But I couldn't shake my worry, so I pretended to leave but hid nearby. Catherine tried to start a conversation with Kenny, but he beat her to it. "I've been meaning to ask, why are you taking care of your mother-in-law in this house?" he asked, using the same tone as on the phone. "Well, my husband's busy, and Rachel has her job. But more importantly, why you ask?" Then Kenny interrupted. "What?" and began hurling insults at Catherine. "You live in such a wealthy home. You'd have enough money to put your mother-in-law in a care facility, wouldn't you? Or is it something else? Did your husband give up his claim to this family's wealth? So you're trying to curry favor by taking care of her? That must be it. You'd be pretty upset if you married into money and didn't get a piece of the inheritance, wouldn't you? It was cruel. I was furious too, ready to leave the room. But just as I was about to, Catherine, noticing me, signaled with her eyes to stay put. Reluctantly, I remained silent and watched the scene unfold. You've hit a nerve, haven't you? If that's the case, leave right now. This family's wealth belongs to my wife and me, so I'll handle my mother-in-law's care alone from now on. With Kenny's stern declaration, Catherine felt it was pointless to argue further and left the scene. Sensing the tension, I discreetly stepped outside, concerned about Catherine's feelings and wondering how to apologize to her. Kenny took over Mom's care entirely, refusing any assistance from me. He only provided basic instructions on caregiving. But his neglectful approach led to tragic consequences, and our mother passed away. The funeral took place at the church where generations of our family had been laid to rest. However, Kenny was nowhere to be found from the moment Mom passed away. Despite my attempts to locate him, I was too overwhelmed with funeral arrangements to pursue the matter. Relatives and neighbors were puzzled by his absence. Catherine, grief-stricken at the altar, apologized for trusting Kenny with Mom's care. Approaching her, I tried to offer some comfort. Catherine, please don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. Rachel, it's not your fault either. But where is that man? I wanted to confront him today, and he disappears just as Mom passes away. Exactly. And didn't Kenny often leave the house while he was supposed to be caring for Mom? Where was he going? Yes, neighbors mentioned he was frequently out, almost as if he wasn't caregiving at all, just loafing around. They also mentioned a big truck that came by once. What was that about? I wanted to ask, but with the funeral, I didn't bring it up. Days passed, and Kenny still hadn't returned. Then, I received a call from him. Hey, Rachel, I'm in a fancy hotel in Europe, like the ones you see on TV travel shows, Kenny said nonchalantly. Kenny, you missed Mom's funeral, and now this. I spent $200,000. $200,000? Where did you get that kind of money? Remember the grand piano at our family home? I sold it. Who knew it was worth $200,000? Kenny confessed to selling the family's cherished grand piano and squandering the money on luxury travel in Europe. I never imagined Kenny would pull something like this while supposed to be caring for Mom. Our family home had tight security, but with family, it's different. That truck must have been there to move the piano. Why would you do something so selfish? The whole family was worried about you missing the funeral. Well, once you have a kid, you won't have much free time. Since you have a job, I guess I'll have to be the stay-at-home dad. Kenny's words left me stunned. Despite my anger, his willingness to take on childcare was a silver lining. But it seemed he was aiming to live off me. Additionally, Kenny seemed to think the piano belonged to me. Confronting Kenny, who had unknowingly sold a piano and spent the money, I started with, my condolences. Huh. What do you mean? Kenny seemed bewildered, so I explained about the piano. That piano belonged to my grandfather, bought for my brother. So it still belongs to him. Oh, really? I'll just apologize to your brother then, Kenny replied, lacking any remorse for selling someone else's property. Kenny only met my brother at our wedding, so it's understandable he didn't know. My brother is a piano teacher and has loved the piano since childhood. He begged our grandfather for that specific piano. Although there's no room for it in his house now, it's still his. He even dreams of starting his own school with it. The piano means everything to him. I can only imagine what punishment he'll have for you when he hears it was sold without permission. By the way, my brother despises dishonesty. As I explained, Kenny remained silent. Understand? Mere compensation won't suffice when he finds out you sold his beloved piano. He's not one to compromise. I wonder what punishment awaits you. With that warning, the call abruptly ended. He's probably regretting it now. I called my brother and told him everything. Needless to say, he was furious. The next day, Kenny rushed home, finding everyone gathered in the living room. "What's going on? Why is everyone here?" Kenny asked nervously. "I heard everything from Rachel," my brother said sternly. "What possessed you to sell someone else's property, especially something so valuable, without consulting the family?" Kenny tried to justify himself, visibly shaken. I was just trying to pitch in with the household chores out of boredom. When I saw the old, large grand piano, I figured no one was using it anymore. So you decided to sell it. Yeah, it seemed like a waste to just leave it there. My brother, wearing a stern expression, pressed further. Really? That piano was special, imported by our grandfather from a top European manufacturer. Where's the money from the sale? As anticipated, my brother was playing his part well. Everyone probably knew Kenny had spent all the money on an overseas trip, but my brother was aiming for a confession in front of everyone. Kenny seemed lost in thought, struggling to come up with an excuse. The sales money. Yeah, it hasn't come in yet. Kenny stammered, clearly flustered, but my brother wasn't buying it. You're lying? How deceitful can you get? And what about those souvenirs from Europe in that huge suitcase? Kenny recoiled as if struck by lightning, closing his eyes in shame. I'm sorry, I spent all the money. Kenny's admission left the relatives murmuring in shock. Everyone knew the value of that grand piano. They couldn't fathom how Kenny could blow $200,000 on just one trip overseas. My brother, looking down at Kenny, lifted his chin with his hand, locking eyes with him as he said, "As Rachel probably told you, that piano was mine. Now that it's gone, you'll repay every penny. If you can't, I'll sue you for theft. Are we clear?" My brother's intensity was palpable, almost resembling a mob boss. While this would typically be a family matter, my brother was likely using intimidation tactics, knowing Kenny was clueless about the law. Predictably, Kenny lost his voice and began sweating profusely. Then, with a terrified glance at me, he pleaded, "Rachel, please help me." His voice was desperate, but I had no intention of intervening. This mess was entirely of his own making. When I rejected his plea, Kenny resorted to a ludicrous argument, saying, "Don't be so cold. I looked after your mom while you were pregnant. I saw the trip as a reward for myself after caregiving. Let's just say we both agreed to sell the piano this way. Since we're siblings, it can't be considered theft, right?" I was so dumbfounded that my mouth hung open, unable to form a response. It was Catherine who stepped in to defend me. "That's enough. Didn't you tell Rachel not to assist with caregiving? You even accused me of being after the inheritance and tried to push me away. Kenny, did you say such awful things to my wife too?" "Yes, I didn't want to worry you, so I kept quiet. But this man must have been scheming to sell the piano without letting Rachel and me near the family home." Catherine's words resonated with me, remembering how Kenny prevented me from getting close to the family home when he said he'd handle our parents alone. I reached the same conclusion. My brother's anger flared up once more. "Listen closely. My wife cared for Mom because she wanted her to stay out of a facility. She agreed out of kindness, not for money. First, apologize to my wife right now." With my brother grabbing Kenny by the collar, tears welled up in Kenny's eyes as he knelt before Catherine. "I'm so sorry, Catherine." Kenny's apology for his disrespectful behavior towards Catherine didn't soften the cold gazes of the relatives. Then, one of them shouted at Kenny, "You need to repay the money from the piano sale promptly. We can't tolerate a criminal in the Schneider family. It'll stain our name." Misinterpreting the situation once more, Kenny made another peculiar remark. "Exactly. We can't have a criminal in the family, right, bro? So let's keep calm. We'll work together as a couple to repay the debt gradually." Even my uncle was left speechless by Kenny's illogical response. Feeling that further discussion would be futile, I excused myself to retrieve something from my room. Ever since the phone incident, I had a divorce lawyer's business card ready. "Kenny, call this number. I want our marriage to end. Let's handle things through legal channels. Kenny's face drained of color when he saw the business card I handed him. Why? We're expecting a baby. Why are you doing this? At that moment, I disclosed what Kenny had said to everyone on the phone. You heard that. It was just a joke. Do you think that's a valid excuse? I've known all along that you were after my inheritance. Everyone present glared at Kenny, realizing there was no way to justify his actions. Kenny responded with defiance, unwilling to admit his wrongdoing. Rachel, please, I need your help, Kenny pleaded in desperation. He explained that the buyer of the grand piano he sold wanted to return it and get a refund. When Kenny had sold the piano, he claimed it was in perfect condition. However, upon inspection, the buyer discovered a large engraving on the back indicating my brother's ownership. It seemed Kenny hadn't checked thoroughly. Instead of selling it through a reputable dealer, he likely chose a shady one enticed by offers like completely free, and now he faced the consequences. Kenny had to refund $200,000 to the buyer, a significant sum considering his debt to my brother. Despite Kenny's attempt to file for bankruptcy, my brother and I took legal action to prevent it. Now, burdened with more debt, Kenny worked tirelessly in manual labor. Eventually, the heirloom grand piano was safely returned. Relieved, my brother secured it with a strong lock and installed a security camera in the room, exercising caution. No one will touch that piano until I begin my piano lessons, my brother declared, unchanged from his childhood self, which brought a smile to my face. With his desire to start a piano school at our family home, I decided to discuss sharing our mother's inheritance. Feeling guilty for inheriting everything alone after Catherine's devoted care for our mother, I proposed the idea to my brother, who agreed. It ensured a positive relationship with his family in the future. And so, I welcomed a long-awaited baby girl. While some relatives hoped for an heir, I believe daughters tend to cherish their mothers longer in today's age. Besides, my mother, an only daughter herself, accepted a son-in-law, so if necessary, my daughter could do the same. Embracing single motherhood, I found unwavering support from Catherine, who had finished raising her own children. Grateful for her assistance during my mother's care, I felt deeply indebted to her. My brother eagerly volunteered to be a father figure for my daughter, his excitement palpable. Additionally, my brother and Catherine's two adult daughters, both kindergarten teachers, shared his passion for the piano, bonding with my daughter. Surrounded by such warmth and support, I felt immensely fortunate, and with gratitude, I resolved to face life's challenges head-on with my daughter by my side.
My name is Emily, and I'm 32 years old, a stay-at-home mom. My husband Benjamin, 34, works a regular office job. We have a beautiful little girl named Mia, and after 8 years of marriage, our 6-year-old daughter has both of us wrapped around her finger. I also have an older sister, Lily, who just turned 35. She recently got divorced due to personality clashes and is now a single mom to her son Logan, who is 4 years old. One day, we had planned a trip to the zoo with just the 4 of us. Unfortunately, I caught a cold and had to stay in bed. Benjamin decided to take the day off from work and still take Mia and Logan to the zoo. It ended up being just him and Lily alone despite them being in-laws. Little did I know, that day would mark a change. Fast forward to another day. I was walking down the shopping street on my way home from the grocery store when I glimpsed Benjamin and Lily in a cafe by chance. I was puzzled but had to pick up Mia from after-school care soon, so I headed home without dwelling on it. That night, when Benjamin got home, he casually mentioned they ran into each other and sought shelter from the rain in the cafe. I believed him. However, from then on, he started coming home late more often, asking for more pocket money, and going out on his days off. When Lily visited, their relationship seemed more intimate than before, leaving me with a string of suspicions. Despite this, I trusted him. Benjamin still adored Mia, and we seemed to have a good relationship. Little did I know, I was the only one who thought everything was fine. Then, an incident occurred that shattered my illusion. One day, as usual, Lily came over to our house. A friend invited me on a trip. Would you mind taking care of Logan for about a week? It's in the Bahamas, she asked persistently. Initially hesitant, I understood Lily had it tough since her divorce. Despite my reservations, I reluctantly agreed. As Lily's departure approached, Benjamin announced he would be out of town for a few days on a business trip. Surprisingly, it was the same day as Lily's trip to the Bahamas. Was this merely a coincidence? Was it my imagination that Benjamin seemed secretive and overly attached to his phone? Was it my sister's tough times clouding my judgment? The morning of Lily's trip, she arrived with Logan. I noticed immediately that something was wrong. Logan's hand was hot, his body feverish. Lily confirmed he'd had a fever since yesterday. We can't delay. We need to get him to a hospital quickly, I insisted. But then Lily dropped a bombshell. I'll leave Logan to you. Shocked, I protested. You can't possibly leave a sick child behind. I have no choice. We've planned this trip for a while. Please take good care of him, she said, brushing off my concerns. Despite my pleas, she left, leaving me to care for Logan, whose health took precedence over everything else. I couldn't believe it. Logan was suffering with a high fever, and yet his condition worsened from the stress of moving around. I quickly tucked him into bed and placed a cold, damp towel on his forehead. While preparing an ice pillow in the freezer, my husband woke up. Honey, it seems like Logan has a fever, he remarked. Really? My sister's awful. She left Logan like this to go on a trip, I replied, frustration evident in my voice. It can't be helped. They've had this trip planned for a long time, and it's too late to cancel now. You too, dear. Poor Logan. If you're so concerned, then you should take care of him. Honey, can you do something about your business trip? If Logan has a contagious disease, he might pass it on to Mia. I'll take care of Logan, and I need you to take care of Mia, I suggested, hoping my husband would prioritize our daughter over his work. But my hope was dashed. What? That's impossible. If you're worried, why not leave her with your parents? That won't work. Our parents are busy with their jobs, and your parents live too far away to drop her off at this hour. Then it can't be helped. Logan will be fine if we let him rest. Don't worry, he said dismissively. Please don't be so casual about this. What do you want me to do? I can't change my plans. Oh, it's time. I have to go now. Bye. With that, he hurriedly left. Left alone, I immediately called my parents. They couldn't take time off from their sudden work commitments, but they agreed to leave work early and pick up Mia as soon as possible. I felt relieved when my mom assured me they were on their way. Until my mom arrives, I'll have to keep Maya locked in her room. I feel sorry for her, but it can't be helped, I thought to myself. Meanwhile, Logan's condition seemed to be worsening. He started coughing in addition to the fever. In the afternoon, my mom, who had left work early, arrived. I handed Mia over to her and headed straight to the pediatric clinic with Logan. In the car, the motion seemed to make Logan uncomfortable, which was hard to see. The doctor said it was just a common cold and prescribed a fever reducer. He asked us to observe Logan and call an ambulance if his fever went up or if he seemed delirious. I'm sorry, Mom, for leaving Maya with you. I apologize. Don't worry about it. More importantly, I'm concerned about Logan, my mom reassured me. After hanging up with my mom, I decided to call my husband's office. I needed to find out where he was staying on his business trip, just in case. The reply I received was, I should be on paid vacation. I sighed, lifting my voice towards the heavens as if making a plea. A dreaded suspicion was beginning to solidify. Opening my husband's laptop, I had never looked through it before, but a quick scan of his browsing history revealed his destination, the Bahamas. Both flight tickets and hotel bookings were arranged by him. I recognized the hotel's name. It was the same place my sister had mentioned. My sister and husband in the Bahamas at the same time, staying in the same hotel. Such a coincidence seemed next to impossible. The mere fact that my husband was in the Bahamas, taking paid leave while claiming to be on a business trip, was alarming. Curious, I looked at my smartphone, checking my sister's social media posts. There were no new posts, but looking at her recent ones, although not clearly visible, I could tell she was frequently with someone. The glimpses of clothing I could catch were all too familiar. What changed my suspicion into certainty was a photo where the wristwatch of the man she was with was visible, a watch I had given my husband. Though not expensive, it was from a unique manufacturer, making the odds that another man dressed like my husband, wearing the same watch, would appear in my sister's photo infinitesimally small. And then I found the conclusive piece of evidence, a photo titled Window Shopping, with my sister's reflection on the glass. On the edge of that photo, Another person's reflection was undeniably my husband. My blissfully ignorant sister must have posted the picture without noticing her husband's reflection in the glass. My hands trembling, I saved all the pictures. There was no mistake about it. My sister and husband were having an affair. Right now, they were together. I felt everything I had built up with my husband crumbling down all at once. I tried calling them numerous times, but soon a voicemail message started playing. It seemed they had turned off their phones. Logan's fever still hadn't broken. Seeing his distressed face, anger started to rise within me. Despite our young child's suffering, despite being in such a difficult situation right now, my sister and husband were probably laughing, enjoying their vacation in the Bahamas. Could there be a worse story? I was trembling with anger, wondering what to do, but that could wait. First, I needed Logan to recover. However, Logan's fever showed no signs of abating. In fact, it seemed to be increasing. I was shocked when I took his temperature. 42 degrees Fahrenheit. Children tend to run high fevers. He had experienced 40 degrees before, but never this high. Why isn't the fever reducer working? Logan was completely drained. It looked painful for him to even move. What should I do? I fought hard to suppress the panic that was threatening to overtake me. I need to call an ambulance, I decided, clutching my smartphone tightly. Mama, Logan murmured in a small voice, his face contorted in pain. He called for his aunt. Unforgivable. I will never forgive them, I thought as my vision seemed to turn red with anger. Logan's condition took a sudden turn for the worse. A week had passed since then. Contrary to my feelings of sorrow, today was a clear day. Staring blankly at the vast blue sky, tears began to spill over. I had lost count of how many times I had cried, yet the tears wouldn't stop. I could feel Maya's hands trembling in mine. My daughter was crying too. As I lifted her up, I saw my parents weeping uncontrollably over her small, trembling shoulders, along with everyone else in attendance. Suddenly, my smartphone vibrated. I put Maya down and saw my sister's name on the screen. Hello. Emily, long time no see. I just got back from the Bahamas. I've just landed at the airport. I'm off to pick up Logan. Thanks for looking after him, my sister said cheerfully. It felt like a phone call from another world. He's gone to heaven, I muttered to myself. What? My sister on the other end of the phone didn't seem to understand what I had said. Huh? Heaven? What are you talking about? I don't understand. That's what I'm saying. He went to heaven while you were on your trip to the Bahamas. Huh? I don't understand what you're saying. You'll understand when you get here, I replied, my voice heavy with grief. The funeral is over and we're at the crematorium. Huh? Crematorium? My sister sounded confused. When I tried to explain the location of the crematorium, she abruptly hung up the phone. Logan. My sister just got out of the taxi and dramatically changed her expression as she started running. She called his name and looked around, but Logan was nowhere to be found. Where is he? He's not here. Of course he's not. What do you mean? I slowly pointed in one direction towards the crematorium. The crematorium doesn't emit smoke like it used to, but it's true. He's being cremated right now, I whispered. Logan? That day, the day you dropped off Logan. His fever shot up to 42 degrees Fahrenheit all at once. 42 degrees Fahrenheit. The antipyretic we got from the pediatrician had no effect. His condition worsened rapidly. We had to call an ambulance in a panic. So that means Logan is. I don't want to answer that. We're in the middle of a funeral, I said, spreading my arms wide, pointing at the crematorium. Hey, what does this mean? What happened to Logan? Why are you here? Someone shouted in place of my speechless sister. It was my husband. Unbelievably, he had come here with my sister. What does that matter right now? What about Logan? Of course it matters. Not losing to my husband's voice, I shouted back, how can you two just abandon your family and go on a secret love trip? Moreover, Logan had a fever, and even when I said I needed help, you ignored me and went on your trip. Are you out of your mind? Who? What are you talking about? I already know. When I asked your company, they said you had taken paid leave. I checked your computer and found a booking for a trip to the Bahamas. You were on the same flight, if not the same hotel, as my sister. You think you can just claim it's coincidence? I must have had a terrifying look on my face. My husband lost his words under my intimidating stare. Tell me, Emily, did he die? Do you have the luxury to ask such a question now? What do you think we're doing here? Why do you think I'm in a simple, modest dress, standing at a crematorium? Don't you get it? No, 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 no. My sister's scream dominated the scene as she broke down crying. I looked down at her with cold eyes. You have no right to cry. You abandoned your son to go on a secret trip with my husband. You're the worst kind of person. I was lonely. I was so lonely all by myself, so I just what? Reached out to your sister's husband? What do you mean? I've done nothing wrong. It's not my fault. The real villain here is my ex-husband who refused to take our son. And it's not just him, it's also the fault of our parents who never helped me with the child. And Emily too, my sister, never taking responsibility. I didn't choose to have a child. I didn't choose to be a single mother. I wanted him to take our son if we were going to get divorced, but he refused. I've been struggling alone because of that. But I didn't. I couldn't. Logan? Logan? Lily's voice broke as she said his name. It was her lover. My husband comforted her as she collapsed into tears. It seemed they were no longer interested in hiding their affair. Don't blame everyone else for your problems. Our parents and I have helped as much as we could. You can't justify leaving a sick child to go on a tryst. Not realizing how rotten you are, you're the worst. Hey Emily, isn't that a bit harsh? Lily just lost Logan. She's in shock. Shut up, accomplice. I'm divorcing you, so be ready to pay what you owe. What? What does that have to do with anything? It has everything to do with it. My husband and I argued while my sister cried. It was a chaotic situation. Our parents approached my tear-streaked sister, started blaming them. To add, Mom, why didn't you take care of Logan properly? Why did you let Logan? Suddenly, there was a loud slap. Enough with your nonsense. It was my father who slapped my sister's face. Don't blame others when you were the one who abandoned your child. And having an affair with your sister's husband, you shameless woman. I'm ashamed to have raised you like this. My sister cried even louder at her father's words. I wanted to punch my husband too. I was glaring at him when, Mommy. I heard a little boy's voice. My sister quickly turned around. There. What? Logan? My sister ran towards them, but the man quickly moved Logan out of her reach. Hey, what are you doing, Andrew? The man holding Logan was Andrew, my sister's ex-husband. He was the one who divorced my sister, citing irreconcilable differences. What are you doing leaving Logan like that? He's my son too. I complied with the court's decision that it's better for a mother to have custody, even though you insisted on not giving me parental rights. But you wouldn't let me see him, no matter how many times I asked. My worry proved justified. You're not fit to be Logan's mother. Just shut up. You should just pay the child support. I'd pay any amount for Logan, but you left him without care. You don't even know how critical his condition was, and you're out on your affair trip. That day, when Logan's condition deteriorated, I panicked and called an ambulance. When we got to the hospital and while he was being treated, I called her parents and Andrew, Logan's father. He was surprised when I told them my sister was on a trip with my husband. After that, Logan, who was discharged from the hospital in good health, was resting at Andrew's and his parents' house. Wait a minute, you're saying Logan's okay? Then whose? My husband asked, puzzled, staring at the crematorium. It's her grandmother. Our grandmother. Mother to me and my sister, and great-grandmother to Maya and Logan, I replied. She was in her advanced years and bedridden, living in a nursing facility. She passed away recently from old age. Despite being bedridden, our grandma was quite lucid and doted on her great-grandchildren, Maya and Logan. Whenever we visited her at the nursing home, she would light up with joy. Her sudden departure left us, my parents and Maya, in deep sorrow, unable to do anything but grieve. Logan, who had been ill, couldn't attend the funeral. However, since he'd called my sister to the crematorium, Andrew was there. His fever had subsided, and he looked well. You tricked us. No one said Logan had died. My sister accused us with her eyes, but it was we who had the right to accuse. I didn't hear about Grandma's death either, she snapped back. I tried calling both of you several times to tell you about Grandma's passing, but the line was always busy. Considering how kind she was to you, it's unfathomable that you're this late. Enough. You're all making fools of us. Logan, let's go home. You don't want to stay with such a man. You want to be with Mom, right? Andrew, give Logan back right now. Will you ever stop? The one who scolded my sister, who was bearing down on Andrew, was her father. Do you still think you can keep Logan with you after all of this? What you've done could have gotten you in legal trouble for child abandonment. You've proven to be an unfit mother. Never think you'll be allowed near Logan again. Logan will be raised by Andrew. Dad, how could you? We've decided to fully support Andrew and hire a lawyer. You are no longer our daughter. We're cutting ties with you. Mom. My sister's face went pale at her parents' harsh words. I stood in front of her with a firm stance. I'm divorcing my husband, so why don't the two of you stick together? You seem fine leaving your children behind to go on an overseas trip. Upon hearing this, my husband burst out, Emily, wait, it was just a lapse in judgment. Lily and I were just fooling around. The ones who matter to me are you and Mia. Then my sister also started shouting, what do you mean fooling around? You told me you no longer loved Emily and that I was the only one you loved. Stop the noise. I just love my daughter. Don't mess with me. As the storm reignited between my husband and my sister, we left the scene with my grandmother's ashes. After that, despite many disagreements with the help of a lawyer, I managed to settle everything. Logan went to live with his dad. I thought he might feel sad being away from his mother, but he was rather pleased. It turned out my sister wasn't functioning as a mother at all. My husband and I had our disputes. Well, more accurately, my husband was absent. After being scolded by both my parents and his, he was feeling down. Then our daughter landed the knockout punch. I don't need daddy. She might be only 6 years old, but girls mature quickly. She must have understood her father's despicable actions in her own way. When our daughter looked at my husband like he was a bug, I couldn't help but laugh. For my husband, who adored his daughter, no, my ex-husband, there could be no greater punishment. He was allowed to see his daughter, but whether she wanted to see him was up to her. And so, the storm came to an end. Maya and I returned to my parents' home and are living peacefully. My parents are thrilled to live with Mia. She's starting elementary school next year, so we're excited about the preparations. I plan to find a job when she starts school. Logan comes by every now and then with Andrew. He looks totally different. His face is brighter and he's always smiling. Meanwhile, my sister and my ex-husband seem to have ended their relationship quite easily. I guess it was really just a fling for my ex-husband. Perhaps upset about being disliked by his daughter, he dumped my sister without hesitation. However, his despicable affair with his wife's sister became known at his company, which questioned his character. He was relocated to a remote area that will make it even more difficult for him to see his daughter. As for my sister, after being abandoned by everyone, she seemed to live like an empty shell for a while. Then she disappeared. We filed a missing persons report, but I have a feeling we'll never find my sister. That's just the feeling I get.
I'm Emily. Jake, my older brother by 2 years, is a scientist. He's living his dream of working in research and seems really happy with it, even though he's busy all day. Our son, Mike, is 3 years old, just like Jake. He loves watching and trying out new things. Right now, he's really into the goldfish he caught at the fall festival. Our daughter, Sarah, is 1 year old. She loves to eat, and her chubby cheeks are just so cute. She brings so much happiness to our home. Life is pretty good for our regular family, except for one thing. Emily, what are we having for dinner tonight? Mother-in-law. Just as I was trying to calm down my crying daughter and finish cooking dinner, the doorbell rang without warning. My mother-in-law strolled into our house, as she often does around this time. While it's not always on the same day each week, her visits are frequent enough that my son hardly even glances away from the TV. My goodness, fried food again. That's not good, too oily. You should take better care of Jake's stomach when he comes home tired from work. It's not good for the grandkids either. But Mike really enjoys it. Well, that's because you only give him junk. Look, I've made a creamy vegetable stew and minestrone for you. It's important for the kids to get used to Western food from an early age. My mother-in-law began setting the table with the large containers of creamy stew and minestrone she brought. It's a lot, enough to last for at least 3 days, and I felt a bit disheartened just looking at the stew, which was mostly carrots and cabbage. Come on, snap out of it. I'll take the food you made home with me, so go ahead and pack it up. It's not tasty, but we can't waste food. This was routine. Last time she visited unexpectedly, she replaced my clam chowder with her own fried chicken. She left without even sparing a glance at her grandchildren, clutching the still warm container. Once the front door closed, my son turned to me. Softly, Grandma took my fried chicken again. My heart ached seeing the sadness on my son's face. Don't worry, there's a little bit of meat left. Just wait a moment. Yay! As I heated up the oil again, I felt relieved seeing my son's joyful reaction to my words. However, my inner dissatisfaction lingered. My mother-in-law had become increasingly intrusive since my marriage, and it had worsened over the last year. Every week, she showed up unannounced during dinner prep time. Initially, she would just criticize my cooking and parenting, then leave her cream stew on the counter. But for the past 6 months, she started taking my food home with her, effectively ruining our meal. I couldn't fathom my mother-in-law, who lived alone since my father-in-law passed away, eating all 3 servings. She was probably throwing it away. As I prepared baby food and distracted the kids, I managed to cook. It was tough, but seeing my family's happy faces kept me going. Yet, my fried chicken, braised pork, mapo tofu, and hamburgers, all of it, got taken away. I grew up in a family that owned a restaurant, and my dad taught me how to cook, so I'm pretty confident in my culinary skills. And honestly, I think my food tastes better than my mother-in-law's overly sweet cream stew. It bothers me to have my abilities undermined by her, but with Mike in the picture, I've been finding it hard to stand up to my mother-in-law, who is also his grandma. More cream stew? Jake, who comes home after the kids have gone to sleep, makes a face when he sees dinner. Since only Mike's share of fried chicken was left, I served Jake a large platter of the cream stew. What can I do? It's what my mother-in-law brings over. If you don't like it, you can tell her. Yeah, I guess. Jake pokes at the stew, showing little enthusiasm. He shows up without considering Sarah's nap time and even takes away Mike's favorite foods right in front of him. Well, she's lonely since Dad died. That was 2 years ago. How much longer do I have to put up with this? Yeah, I guess. Jake is usually dependable, but he avoids confrontation when it comes to his mother-in-law. Another fruitless conversation passes, and I let out a deep sigh. The only positive thing is that she hasn't suggested moving in. One day, tired of the usual routine, my mother-in-law drops a bombshell during dinner. Instead of her typical greeting, she announces, "Emily, this Christmas, everyone's gathering at our place." What? But after your father passed away last year, we haven't really been able to do much. We've relied on relatives from Dad's side since the funeral, so I'm inviting them to our home as a way of saying thank you, she explains. Sounds exhausting, I respond, lacking enthusiasm. I wonder how she plans to host suddenly when we've always gathered at her brother-in-law's or her own childhood home for Christmas and family reunions. She frowns at me, as if dealing with someone of lesser intelligence. You're not just a bystander here. You'll be helping too, she declares. What? Come over on the 24th and help clean up, she adds, surprising me with her audacious decision. But Sarah is so young. Just use a baby carrier or something. That's how women used to do it back in the day, she suggests, brushing aside my objections. Maybe, but you're also in charge of the full-course Christmas meal. Don't you dare repackage store-bought food or cook anything that tastes bad. I don't want to be embarrassed, she warns. What? You can't be serious, I protest. I'm thinking of inviting your dad's relatives on one day and my sister's family and our daughter on another. It'll be a busy holiday, she continues, though her complaints are tinged with a hint of satisfaction. Hold on, the one who's going to be busy is me, not you. As the daughter-in-law of this family's eldest son, do your duty properly, okay, she concludes before leaving me stunned and my son surprised. She doesn't forget to pack the shrimp gratin that just needs to be baked. That night, when I share my mother-in-law's plans with Jake, he's just as puzzled as I am. What? She's organizing a party on Christmas Eve? Inviting Dad's side of the family when he's not here. Yeah, that's the idea, I confirm. Well, maybe Mom's feeling lonely, Jake suggests. I finally lose my temper at Jake's predictable response. Think about what it's like for me, always being pushed around. Seeing Jake's expression shift to one of realization, he falls silent. Even he understands that this time, it's too much, and he lets out a resigned sigh. All right, I'll handle the cleaning and entertaining the relatives. Really? I'm relieved to hear Jake's offer. It gives me some direction. But can you still cook the full-course Christmas meal? He asks. Just for this year. Let's keep Mom's reputation intact. Plus, everyone in the family loves your cooking, he pleads, eyeing the meatloaf his mother left for us. I mean, it's hard to say no after making a concession, he adds. Fine, just for this year. Thanks, man. I can't wait for Emily's Christmas feast. I say, grateful for his understanding. Geez, you're in high spirits, aren't you? Jake remarks, smiling. Being praised isn't so bad, and I don't mind cooking for people. So I prepare myself mentally, knowing it's just for this time, and agree to prepare a full-course Christmas meal. When I inform my mother-in-law that Jake will stay over to help with cleaning, she makes a displeased face and says, "How could you let the man of the house do such things?" But she seems reasonably satisfied, seeing Jake bustling around at his parents' home for my sake. Then comes Christmas lunchtime. Emily, is the corn soup ready? My mother-in-law asks. I'm preparing the croutons now, I reply, scurrying around the kitchen to get the carpaccio and corn soup ready. You're so inefficient. I'll bring the food myself, she criticizes. I'm sorry. If you're going to complain, try preparing a meal for 20 people. It's really, truly exhausting, I retort, feeling the strain of the day. Finally, the serving is done, and I sit down at the party, relieved to have made it through. Jake seems to have settled our daughter down for a nap in another room. Despite the challenge of preparing a full-course Christmas meal for 20 people, it's gratifying to see everyone relishing my cooking. However, this feeling of satisfaction is short-lived. This quiche looks so beautiful. It's like something you'd buy, someone compliments. Thank you, I reply, feeling a bit uneasy. You're good at flattery. This carrot slaw is perfectly balanced with the vinegar. The orange scent really freshens up your mouth, another guest remarks. That's because Christmas meals tend to be rich, so I made it a bit more acidic, I explain. Something feels off. Every time someone tries to praise my Christmas cooking, my mother-in-law interrupts with her own commentary. Finally, Sophia, father-in-law's sister, unwittingly unveils the source of the awkwardness. Emily, your mother-in-law is such a great cook, isn't she? Excuse me? I respond, taken aback. Unfazed, Sophie continues, did Olivia make this entire Christmas feast? That's amazing. I haven't cooked a full-course Christmas meal in ages. I was going to leave it to my daughter-in-law, but she's absolutely terrible in the kitchen and she never comes by. Even when I offer to teach her, my mother-in-law chimes in, completely disregarding the truth. I'm left dumbfounded by her audacious claims. Oh, Emily, you should really take after Olivia while she's still well. Jake might miss the taste of home sometimes, you know? The way to a man's heart is through his stomach, she adds, seemingly offering advice but actually delivering a veiled insult. Daniel, a relative nearby, laughs, adding to my discomfort. You know, Olivia, that pork belly stew you made last time was delicious. It's amazing you can cook both Western and Japanese dishes. It's not that big of a deal, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. My mother-in-law replies with false modesty, knowing full well that the pork belly stew was my creation. As I stand there, stunned, she silently mouths, "Go along with it." It becomes apparent that she's been claiming credit for all my dishes, including the Christmas feast, and sharing them with the family. Now she wants me to go along with her lie. No way! Especially after all the times she criticized my cooking. Even though I want to speak up, I feel overwhelmed by the crowd and can't find my voice. But then my son comes to the rescue. Mom, this omelet is really tasty. It looks different than usual, but your omelets are always good. His young voice cuts through the noise, silencing the adults. Oh, Mike, this is actually quiche your grandmother made. Sophia tries to cover for him, probably out of kindness, but my son is adamant. But it's tasty. So it's got to be Mom's omelette. Grandma's omelette is super sweet and gritty. It doesn't taste good. He insists passionately, waving his hands around, leaving the adults looking puzzled. Of course, my mother-in-law panics. Emily, don't teach the child to lie. Excuse me? Who's the one lying here, Mom? Am I a liar? Mike looks up at me, his face full of uncertainty. That's when I felt my anger rising. I felt silly. I didn't care what people thought of my mother-in-law or Jake. I tolerated her because she's Jake's mom and Mike's grandma, but turning my grandson into a liar just to save face, that's not right. If she's going to make my child lie, I'll stand up for what's right, even if it means being seen as the bad guy. I took a deep breath and stood tall. Mike isn't a liar. You're the one lying, Grandma. Huh, she looked surprised. She probably didn't expect me to confront her. I stood up and pointed dramatically at the table. I made this entire Christmas meal, including the corn soup, from start to finish. What? The room erupted in shock. My flustered mother-in-law began to panic and shout, Wait, Emily, you're lying. Are you out of your mind? I'm not lying, Sophia. You said you got the pork belly stew from Grandma, right? I turned to Sophia, who looked surprised. Ah, yes, it was delicious, Sophia admitted. I made that too, I revealed. Huh? Sophia looked bewildered. You're terrible, taking credit for Jake's mom's cooking and trying to frame her. You're the worst daughter-in-law. Then can you tell me the recipe for the pork belly stew, mother-in-law? I challenged. What? Well, she hesitated, then suddenly exclaimed, It's a secret. It's a secret family recipe, so I can't tell you in public. You don't have to give details or measurements, just the basics, I insisted. Even the relatives who were disgusted by our petty fight started to see who was in the right. Emily, that's enough. My husband Jake intervened. He had apparently finished putting our daughter to sleep and silently appeared near the door, restraining me with a stern voice and face. My mother-in-law clung to Jake as if he was her ally, looking like a tragic heroine. Jake, what's up with your daughter-in-law? She's calling me a liar. That's awful, Mom. You're the awful one here. What? Mother-in-law's mouth dropped open. This entire Christmas feast? Emily made it all? Yes, she did, while taking care of the kids. Trying to take credit for it is pretty low, Jake, I affirmed. Sophia, the only thing Mom made is that massive bowl of creamy stew over there. Have you tried it? Jake pointed out. Huh? Yeah, Sophia responded, visibly shaken. Yeah, it was insanely sweet, wasn't it? Mom thinks if it's sweet, it's tasty. She's always been so cautious about salt and oil, but uses sugar with no limits, so all her dishes taste like a block of sugar, Jake explained. Is that so? The pork belly stew was probably made by my daughter-in-law too. If you got any other dishes from Mom recently, they were likely made by Emily, Jake continued. Really? Even that meatloaf? Sophia asked. That was me. And the mapo tofu and shrimp gratin. That was me, I confirmed. Everyone in the family was disillusioned with mother-in-law because of her own son's revelation. Isn't that right, Mom? Jake challenged. Mother-in-law, exposed for all her lies, started panicking. It seemed like she had given up on lying and was now trying to appeal to Jake's emotions. Why? Why are you siding with your daughter-in-law? I'm your mom, she pleaded. I didn't want to have to say this either, Mom, Jake responded solemnly. I thought you were just lonely because Dad isn't here, so I've been having Emily put up with you. But this isn't anything but harassment towards her. There's no reason to protect you anymore. Don't see Emily or the kids ever again, Jake firmly tells his mother, dismissing her pleas. He starts cleaning up the Christmas feast and then apologizes to the relatives. I'm sorry for the disturbance this Christmas, Emily. Mike, let's go, Jake says as he takes Mike's hand and stands up. Mike looks at his grandmother and asks, Grandma, where's your I'm sorry? Huh? When you lie, you say I'm sorry, then you get forgiven, right? Isn't that right, Mom? Mike questions. Huh? His grandmother stammers, unable to respond. I get it. You have to be forgiving when it comes to raising kids, but a simple sorry isn't going to cut it, Jake remarks. Seeing his mother's reluctance to apologize, he sighs in resignation. Grandma can't even say I'm sorry, and she's supposed to be an adult. How sad. Let's go home and have Mom's delicious Christmas feast, okay? Jake suggests to Mike. Oh, we left behind a growling mother-in-law and confused relatives. carrying our sleeping daughter and the Christmas feast as we left Mike's house. We went straight to my parents' place and served the Christmas feast. Everyone was delighted and ate with joy. This is what I had been striving for, so my heart was full. Jake, of course, apologized profusely and promised never to let us meet mother-in-law again. The atmosphere at my house stayed uncomfortable. The relatives left, leaving only my mother-in-law and some bland food. The next day, my mother-in-law's sister, her husband, and Jake's sister visited as promised. When they saw the bland food, they laughed and said, "We expected as much." It seems my mother-in-law's lack of cooking skills was well known among her relatives. "So you boasted about hosting a Christmas feast? I wondered what trick you'd pull," they teased. "Maybe you're just jealous of Emily, who's good at cooking and praised by Jake and Mike. Sorry for the inconvenience," they added. After hearing the details from Jake, my sister-in-law thanked me for my efforts. "I'm sorry for jumping to conclusions. Turns out Sophia also enjoys cooking, and we bonded over a recipe for braised pork belly," she said. The misunderstanding with Jake was cleared up, and I found new friends who share my cooking hobby. I felt refreshed, enjoying a carefree Christmas. Of course, my mother-in-law wasn't going to give up easily, but I was prepared. As I was making cornbread, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law. She was furious on the other end of the line. "Excuse me, where are you? It's dinner time. Do your duty as a wife. Are you making the same mistake in coming over again?" she scolded. "No thanks," I replied. "What? You'll be the one left out by the family," she warned. "That won't be a problem. Actually, it was you who got shunned by the relatives. I've even made plans to cook with Sophia next time," I informed her. What? Mother-in-law probably never imagined that I'd become close to father-in-law's side of the family. I informed my mother-in-law that I wouldn't be returning to her house. Instead, my kids and I have been staying at my parents' house since Christmas. We're planning to find a new place to live now that the holidays are over. Despite my mother-in-law's insistence on living near her, Jake's workplace is closer to my parents' house. Since my mother-in-law couldn't heed Jake's warning to stay away from me, we've decided to physically distance ourselves. Right now, Jake is the only one living at his parents' house, and he'll leave once he's ready. When my mother-in-law demanded to know where we were, I simply responded that she couldn't get away with not cherishing Jake's mom. However, I reminded her that both Jake and his sister had forgiven her, so it was okay. With that, I thanked her for everything and said goodbye before hanging up and blocking her number to ensure I never had to hear her voice again. 2 years later, my family eagerly waits for my cooking in the living room, playing around as I fry burgers in the kitchen. It warms my heart to see them eagerly awaiting my cooking with smiles on their faces.